All right. It's your pal, it's your buddy, it's me, the big cheese. The ego has landed. It's David Wilcock. I am here with you once again, and I did the purple shirt, so I don't know who won the pool today for purple shirt, but that was it. You guys I know like to bet on that. There's a whole betting pool, the David Wilcock shirt betting pool, but yeah, I'm here today. I'm here with you guys, and I made it despite the difficulties. And we've already got a lot of people coming in here. It's looking really good. Lots of comments. Jacob Griffin says, we are excited to hear from David today. Bless you this fine day. Susie Duquesne, hello from New Paltz, New York, right where I went to school and where most of my family still lives. Rich Vagel, are you no longer doing Alliance slides? Well, I had to take a little break from Alliance slides because of the intensity of what's going on. But we are still definitely covering very important principles of sacred science, and it all ties in with what I think is going to be happening. I am definitely, let's talk about the Alliance a little bit. The Alliance is, again, a group that I feel is working towards creating peace on this planet on a very high level. And it very much looks like we are headed towards the final phase. So things have gotten more dangerous. So I know some people are like, if you're not going to talk about that, then I don't want to watch the show. Well, sorry. You know, I feel the need to protect myself outweighs the need to try to get out one more show and create trouble. So I do apologize for that if anybody has a problem with that. But I want you to feel like you're still going to get your time well spent by being with me today, because all of these concepts that I'm telling you are going to matter significantly. Let's just say that, because I see all the chatter that's going on out there. First of all, so we are going to talk about the Alliance. Okay, we are going to talk about the Alliance because I'm doing it right now. There is a very strange shift going on in the patterns of the types of feed that you get on your social media. Have you noticed this, you guys? What consists of the final phase in your words, is Kathy Kaberg. The final phase, we're seeing, things starting to get brought into, the court cases are starting to happen, and arrests could be happening, perp walk kind of stuff could be happening. There could be very high profile announcements that are made that could lead to all of the things that I've been telling you that we might be expecting to see. I think all of that stuff is now vectoring into view, and I feel like there's a halo around it. I feel like there's a lot of build up to this, and it's scary, frankly. Yeah, that's true. We had the president actually put out a video that showed the med beds, and that was quite remarkable considering we've been talking about that for a long time. I do actually think this is a positive. I think that disclosure is coming. We've heard from Representative Anna Paulina Luna about the Comet 3I Atlas, if you want to call it that. And the scuttlebutt is very, very interesting on this. When it gets down to the wire, we may see extraterrestrial type of events. Congress is already saying that extraterrestrials are real, UFOs are real. The best source of UFO-oriented information that I ever found was the Law of One material. And Angela Chartrand says, yes, I can feel the shift. ROC says, we are disclosure in action. Betts Davis says, we are the medbeds. Yep. Falcon Wing Beats says, you told us about things being sealed back in 2020, and you are right. There are things going on. Richard Whitney, oh my goodness, he donated $300 already. I'm so flattered and honored. That's the Namaste Principle in action. You guys donate to this work. It really helps us out so much. So he says, God bless you, David, for your courage and persistence, for bringing us the truth. It's all coming. Peace, love, and light unto you and us all. Vicky Crew Fuller says, David, you are my family. I appreciate that. Wow. And then we just got another big donation here, another red one. The Sunflower, 222 Canadian dollars. Illumination dissolves all material ties and binds us together with the golden chains of spiritual understanding. It acknowledges only the leadership of the Christ. The illumined walk without fear, with grace and by grace. Jay Goldsmith. I paraphrased it a little bit. Wayne Bell, the divine in me sees the divine in you. Mark Watson, is there anything we should worry about if we stay out of everyone's way? Well, I don't really encourage you to worry. The whole point of today's talk is that, yes, we are probably heading into some big stuff in October, later this month. I think it's going to get really intense. We already know that there's high-profile things coming our way. And I want you to have all the tools in place to handle how these things are going to go. So the individual news, we're still looking at the Russia-Ukraine war potentially getting more intense. The Israel thing, unfortunately, 47 is trying to bring us towards peace. He's not necessarily getting what he wants. We had 3 more donations. John Davies says, trolls get their own demise. Thank you, David, for your show. We have Rosie Skya 5 donated. And then we have Rick Bokar donated $50. Thank you very, very much. These are awesome ways to help. Lexi Abbey says a $2,000 rebate would help. Martin Birchall, do you have any plans to interview the film director and actor William Shatner about the making of 60s and 80s Star Trek? Well, and starring on 80s T.J. Hooker and being the oldest man in space. I haven't, but it would be great if I could do that. That would be fun. Beverly Adams just donated and said, it's all coming to fruition. Stay strong. DC Knowledge and Entertainment, did you see all the countries uniting over Christ, David? That video was amazing. Yes. Part of why I'm going into a more spiritual focus now is to honor Charlie and his martyrdom. It had a gigantic impact on me, and I want to be able to convey to you guys how much I appreciate you and what is really the highest calling right now. What is the highest calling of service? And for me, first of all, it's protecting myself and being safe. I don't have a team around me of security guards or anything like this, and frankly, I just don't want to get in too much more trouble than I already did in the past, and I don't think it's necessarily trouble. I was covering things that both sides of the aisle can look at, like, okay, this is what I believe the alliance is, this is where they're messaging from, and this is what they have to say. And so that's just a matter of public interest. 56 Moments says, it's always great to see you, David. Donald Barker says, a respectful greeting to you, David. William Shatner is very ill. He had a heart attack recently. If this is true, he's still alive. Suzanne Ariel Luna, yeah, he's definitely still alive. You're heavily protected by Archangel Michael, David. Well, I just want to make sure that what I'm doing is, because this seems to be a final period here. We're in maybe the last few weeks before we could see some really big changes and things that start to affect us all in pretty dramatic ways. And so I want to just be there for you with a positive spiritual message. It's going to uplift and entertain. And Wade Woodruff says, Beverly Adams, wonderful, wonderful. You're great, David, says Sarah Love. Can you tell us the spiritual purpose of Three Eye Atlas, says Diva Nagula? Well, we don't really know that yet. We can only speculate as to what may be happening, what may be going on there. But, it's all good. So we're just doing our best all together now. We're trying to find out the answers, and I'm on a quest for answers too. Let's keep my hair a little bit less crazy for you guys. Get it out in the front, but not so crazy on the sides. Anyway, it's all good. And I'm happy to be here, man. So this is a really intense time to be alive. We're having lots of challenges, and the challenges affect us in so many different ways. It's hard to explain how much I've been affected by what I'm seeing and how that has changed my perspective, changed my viewpoint on a lot of things. But again, we're talking about the principle of Namaste. The divine in me sees and honors the divine in you. So I want to start out with that principle right off the bat by saying thank you for being here with me today. And I am delighted to have you on board with this team. You really are the centerpiece of everything. Here we are, we're only 10 minutes in, and we've already got 1,700 people watching. That is an incredible turnout. If I had that crowd live in front of me, it's quite an epic crowd. I have been in front of crowds that size in front of an audience, and it's wonderful when you get that. So thank you for being here. This is the Principle of Namaste. So yes, things are probably going to heat up. We're probably going to see some pretty intense stuff coming our way. And it's very important as we go into this that we cultivate an attitude of gratitude, that we have that knowingness that things are going to be all right. We don't want to live in fear, because fear is, as it say in Dune, fear is the mind killer, right? It's not going to make you any happier if you dwell in anxiety. And there may be things that you have every reason to be worried about. There could be some very intense fears of the end of the world, but we've been told over and over again by the Alliance that these are scare events and that they're not going to actually lead to that. And it could be that the Comet 3I Atlas is also a scare event. This could actually be how we see the long-awaited, that we hear from so many different documents and insiders going back dozens of, well, not dozens of decades, but decades in the UFO community, this idea of Project Bluebeam. Little Tiny Joe LTJ just donated £99.99. Thank you, David. Peace, love, and vibe high to us all. Well, thank you, LTJ. That is awesome. Mark Voidwalker just donated. Thank you very much. Prince Royal says, David, can you elaborate on the difference between WrestleMania and kayfabe? Well, WrestleMania is one of the terms that I've used to describe how I think that things are being staged, and we have fights that are being laid out that look very scary, but they're not necessarily real. And there could be coordination going on at a higher level. The kayfabe, again, is this element of what happens in traditional carnivals, where they have professional wrestling and nobody actually gets hurt. It's all staged. But in the show, they have to pretend that they hate each other, and they can't break the kayfabe. So whenever they go out in front of the public, they have to maintain the characters that they've generated. That animosity that they have for each other in the show has to carry out into the public. That's a very important part of it. So Pillars and Strategies also just donated $25, and that's really great. Thank you very much. Shalom, David, we love you. Shalom, indeed. Is AI being used to bring full disclosure without most realizing it? The fifth element is happening, and we discussed this in X Space. Okay, well, AI being used to bring about full disclosure. I don't know if AI is being used for that purpose or not, but I do realize that AI is useful. I mean, it definitely, I've actually had some great benefit from just, using basic AI to answer questions. And it seems like it just keeps on getting better and better, according to friends of mine. And, people who use it regularly are saying that it just keeps on increasing in its capability and its accuracy and everything. So is it being used for disclosure? Well, disclosure is probably going to be a very big surprise. I think that what we're actually dealing with is a community that is surrounding the UFO subject that is very, very different than the community that we see in the regular military. I really do wonder about what we're going to be going into, and I really do wonder about exactly how this is going to all play out. But there are undeniable signs that UFOs are being talked about in the mainstream more and more frequently. This is something that keeps on happening to us. And so we're seeing more and more of this kind of stuff come in. And the 3I Atlas thing is being openly talked about by the media, like really hyped up quite a bit. And Representative Anna Paulina Luna was talking about that. We had that in our time loop. And the idea that this could be a blue beam, fake alien invasion kind of thing. So, and who knows? I mean, it could be that that ship actually comes near the Earth. It might veer off course. It might speed up. It might actually shoot at us. That's one negative approach. Another positive approach would be that there is some type of extraterrestrial thing that seems benevolent. And then that could also be something that isn't what it looks like, similar to the idea of childhood's end, right? Or other similar things like V, where it starts out looking good and then it turns really weird after we thought it was a good thing. It's way too early to tell. But the point is, we've been dealing in the UFO subject for a really long time, and this is UFOs being delivered right on a platter to us. There's drone sightings going on, weird stuff. We have Lila de Jesus donated $20. Thank you very much. Wonder Laura says it's negative, but it's only passing through. The Healing Luma says, David, I remote viewed planet Venus and it looked just like the Earth. Wade Woodruff says, wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, let's try to not make any snap judgments about what this might be or where it's going. Paula Mignoni said, David, she donated, did you have any luck selling your New York and Colorado houses yet? Are you going to move from Colorado before it's sold? Stay warm then. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to. We just haven't had a lot of activity on this. So I'm going to have to start looking at strategies about what else can we do there, because, you know, we're not even really getting much interest at all. It's been very lackluster, but the whole market where my house is here is like that, unfortunately. So that's just kind of the reality that we're dealing with. Beverly Adams says, Jesus does not want to be worshipped. She donated. He wants us to understand who and what we really are. Energy, frequency, vibration, and light. And yes, we are the med beds. And then we have Patty Souza, donated $100. Says, God bless you. May peace, love, and light fill us all. Eldon Elder says, people say they'd love to meet an extraterrestrial, but when it actually happens, most of them would run screaming into the woods. DC Knowledge Entertainment says, my dog has super high anxiety lately. We're at 2,172 viewers now, which at 15 minutes in is really quite incredible. Jeannie King, as a reminder, you only need one buyer for the house. That's true. So hopefully we're going to get there. We're really working on it, and but we got to step up the effort. So we're looking at other strategies. We have some things we're discussing, and we don't really know what's happening yet. But we're just working really hard. We're trying to make this come true. So I'm happy. I'm in a good mood, and life is turning around. You know. So as we head into these scare events, as we head into this final phase, whatever that may be, I want you to try to stay as positive as possible. That's your homework assignment. Don't give in to the negativity. Don't give in to the downers. And let's just try to be as emotionally upbeat as we can. That's really one of the main things I want to focus on today. This principle of Namaste is a principle of how we can become more actualized in our positivity, in our loving consciousness, and make that really work for us. I'm gonna actually move my lamp a little bit, you guys, because it's a little too far over. That way it's in the scene here, so just hang on a second. You see me go way back into the depths of field. All right, just like that. I think that'll be better. That looks better, yeah. Okay. Now, oh yeah, that's a lot better. Okay, great. Because, you know, my set is very funny in terms of all the different things it has to be just right. Sage Marie Sprenger says, the morning of September 30th, when I woke up, my dream voice was very clear and distinct. It said in a statement of exclamation, Alice Allure, Valiant Thor. Interesting. Maybe you could switch homes with someone, says Melissa Wesniak. That's pretty funny. Anyway, Charlie Winter just donated. She says, Namaste, everyone. Stay centered in Christ. You'll be safe through the pains of change. We are suffering from a collective fever that will burn off the negative. So yes, let's try to stay positive and remember that all of the things that we've been talking about for so long, all of these prophetic scenarios, all of these what ifs and these hypotheticals and these, oh, you know, we might see people get arrested. We might see something happen with an indictment or multiple. And, you know, everything, you know, like in the Vegas analogy, the cherries are all lining up on the machine. It's pretty wild, and it's all coming into view right now. So again, I think the public is waking up very quickly. I think more and more people are becoming aware of the deeper issues that face us and maybe things that they never wanted to look at before. But there's still going to be a point where it's a very sudden shift and people are really rocked out of their comfort zone. And that's why this principle of Namaste is so important. And again, I'm very delighted to have you on board with this team. We may have a shorter show because, again, I had a very busy week. My entire week has been mostly consumed, almost entirely consumed, with issues involving real estate. So, yeah, this has been a major focus. Bonnie Demlong just donated. Thank you very much. Your hair looks fine, bro, says Deborah Oulette. So, yeah, it turns out that because we had a company name that bought the house, we've had to go through an extraordinary amount of paperwork, articles of incorporation, certificates of good standing, application for authority, proof of publication. It's just been outrageous. And the amount of work that you have to do in New York State is greater than any other state in the country, as I just have found out from talking to my CPA and others. So that's been one of the things that has really, really taken time. And then also, just last night, we had the wind season pick up again. So yes, once again, the very reason why I don't want to be here in the winter, the very reason why I'd like to get out of here. You remember in other winters, like last winter when I was trying to do video, that if I have high winds on a Sunday, then we're not going to be able to do a video on Sunday because it's just so disruptive and it's so loud. So that happened last night, starting at 2 p.m., and it lasted all the way until 1 o'clock in the morning. And at the same time, I mean, how have you guys been able to handle this full moon, huh? We're in the middle of the full moon last night. Did you notice that? It was like so bright outside. It's like, wow, just incredible. So it's a very intense time, and it's been intense for me because of these issues that I'm describing. And because of the wind season, I wasn't able to sleep. And then at the same time, my friend just had a very serious medical emergency. So all these things are coalescing at once. So he does seem to be doing better now. I gave him a meditation last night to try to help him sleep, and it actually worked really, really well. We spent a long time. I gave him a 45-minute long, basically, meditation because it seemed like he had eaten something that might have given him food poisoning. And sure enough, he was able to sleep from, I don't know, like the longest he's slept in a very long time because he loves these meditations. His name is Arthur. So we all want to say a prayer for Arthur. We want to say a prayer that he's going to be fine because he woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning and he had very, very severe ongoing gastrointestinal issues. They had to give him medication to help calm that down. And it's everything you can describe that I'm not going to describe because it's, too upsetting. But Bonnie Demlong says, as a nurse, I am seeing an increase in medical issues. God bless you, Arthur. That's right. We say a prayer for Arthur. Absolutely, and we'll add that into the meditation. Rosa Scroza, Arthur is already better. He's so loved. Yeah, he's the last person I spoke to right before I got on the air. So we're at 2,425 people now, and let's get into the content. We've got a lot of good stuff to discuss. So first of all, let's hope that the Gaza conflict can come to an end, but we're having obstacles in that path still. This looked good at first, where it says that they have agreed to the initial withdrawal line, and once the other group confirms, this ceasing will immediately become effective. So he's trying really hard, and that makes me very happy. I love seeing this kind of stuff. Then the exchange will begin. We'll create the conditions for the next phase of withdrawal, which will bring us close to the end of this 3,000-year catastrophe. Thank you for your attention to this matter, and stay tuned. Well, again, this is really great. However, it takes both sides to tango. And yes, prayers for Arthur, prayers for Arthur. Thank you very much. It's been an intense time. I wanted to show up for you guys, and I'm sorry if it's a little bit chatty. Somebody said I'm out of here, but this is not just straight ahead television. This is an interactive live stream format where you guys get to write to me, and then I get to write back, and I love that. So anyway, 2,500 viewers, nothing to snuff at for 24 minutes in. That's really, really great. So again, really happy that you guys are here. Yes, everybody's praying for Artie. So actually, why don't we, let me show you first of all what's going on. So he says, thank you for your attention to this matter. Stay tuned. Then just this morning, we say, they're saying, no, we don't want to have a ceasefire yet. And he really lost his temper. The president says, why are you always so blanking negative? Whoa. So for him to cross that line and actually drop an expletive like that means that it's a serious situation. So again, there's a big, big need for prayer power right now. So why don't we just do a little meditation? We'll bring that in. We'll bring in Arthur. We'll do it right now. So let's just close your eyes, put both feet flat on the floor. Let's work this principle of Namaste for the planet. All right. Father, Mother, God, we ask you to hold us in the light. We ask you to hold the truth for all those seeking it. Let them find the peace and the wisdom and the understanding to seek out your blessings and your mercy. We ask that you give us hope, give us the strength that we need to move through this final phase, which is so intense. We ask that you bless all those in need of prayer and healing, including my dear friend Arthur, including all those in the conflicts that we're seeing around the world. Everyone in this audience, everyone, raise them up. Help them to get closer to the truth and to the wisdom and to the light and to the glory of your presence. We know that you exist. We know that there is a higher power. We honor that power. We honor you. We thank you for being with us. We feel this deep, penetrating relaxation now. As we breathe in, we are breathing in the glory of being alive, the glory of being here on earth in this such pivotal moment in history. Feeling that peace now. If any commercial comes up, we just hit skip, and we're not going to lose our focus. That's okay too. Feeling such gratitude for being alive, such gratitude for being here in this world, and for being able to see the unveiling happening in real time. We thank you. Amen. All right. So yeah, I don't want to get too far deeply into long meditation yet, but Charlie Winter says, blessings on your new home. Thank you very much. Give David a thumbs up, says Axis Monday. So here's the thing. We can do the power of focused prayer. We can do the power of intention. And it's also very important to keep our eyes on the mental disciplines and the spiritual disciplines that are going to get us through this. Because a lot of us are having a really hard time right now. And it's a very difficult period of existence. So, I myself am still in a sensitive place. So as a result, my focus is going to be spiritual until things start to shift, and I'm sure I'll know when that is. So last week, we were talking about healing your shadow side. And the shadow is the part of us that lives in fear, the part of us that doesn't necessarily react appropriately to what's going on. We end up being dragged down by negativity. We get overwhelmed by the stress of our daily lives. We can't pay the bills. We have fights going on. We have various issues and problems that don't easily get resolved. And so when you have those kind of things happening, it can be easy to feel overwhelmed, and it can be easy to feel like life doesn't have everything in place for you the way you want it to. And I get that. I've definitely felt that myself. And it's a very intense feeling. So what we're going to try to do now is focus on how we can all really embody a higher calling. How do we live in that higher calling? How do we feel ourselves moving away from habitual patterns? Many of us get stuck in the same old repetitive patterns, and we feel the same types of negative emotions over and over again, and we're not really learning anything. That's what they call in the law of one system, true helplessness. To repeat catalyst without any new insight as to its meaning. Greg just donated and said, David, what is the pull that it feels like your soul is getting sucked out of your body if you are near sleep paralysis? That can be the beginning of an out-of-body experience. We're ultimately built to be able to do that. And a lot of that has to do with the awakening of the pineal gland, which really is a spiritual discipline. And so these spiritual disciplines become more available to you as you follow this principle of Namaste. Very important thing, because if your shadow is predominating, then one of the main things that causes is this negative self-talk. Frequency 963 says, first thought every day, I ask God to guide every step in my day and deliver me from any feelings of grief that may be washing over me. Suzanne Ariel Luna says, I also am in a serious place. I've been for many years. After what happened in my life, I can barely go on, especially financially. So I appreciate the change in your focus here. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think the best thing I can do is to help alleviate pain and bring us into a higher consciousness together. And the shadow has to be illuminated with your own light of truth. As you find that truth within yourself, as you learn how to embody these positive frequencies, you're really, really turning your life around. It makes such a huge difference. It's so, so important. So let's talk about that a little bit more. The shadow exists within thoughts of separation. So one of the reasons why work like mine is so important is that separation is the basis of the pain that drives us into negative behavior. Now, what do exactly I mean by separation? I mean that even though we know theoretically there could be a higher power, theoretically there is a God or a creator or whatever you want to call it, it's easy to do that when everything feels good. It's easy to be aligned with that higher power and to have faith in it when your life is happy and everything is on track. When things start to get upsetting, like what we're seeing now, like, oh my gosh, these wars are dragging on, there's these scare events taking place, there's, you go on your social media feed and every video is like something violent lately. That's what I've been noticing. It's like, whatever happened to like the alpaca with his cute tongue and he's licking something, and then there's the cat and there's the horse video and he's dancing, and like, where are all the cute animals, and why is it now just like everything's like a riot or somebody got shot, or it's like, whoa, man. So I really feel that this is a time where we need to focus on that. So Star-Born Element says, David, where can we send you something? Well, that would be P.O. Box 3700, Nederland, Nederland, Colorado 80466. And so also, if you're interested in donating on the website, that would be divinecosmos.com/donate. And that really helps us out a lot. Trish P. just donated. Thank you very, very much. With 3i Atlas, Unprecedented Astrology and Geomagnetics, Stephen Burns. Interesting. Gabrielle F., I woke this morning. I felt so grateful to be here, experiencing all of it, even painful parts of life. We are so lucky. Absolutely. So it's a very good thing to cultivate that inner peace. But again, it's easy to do it when life is happy. It's much more difficult to do it when life is stressed out. Many of us can go into a trauma personality, a personality that holds trauma, a personality that has been through the pain, and some people call that the pain body. So one of the focal points I would say is to try to avoid the pain body, try to avoid, these thoughts of separation, the idea of being separate from a loving creator, being separate from the positive universe. Jim Garrigus says, prayers for Arthur and those who are quitting right before the victory. David, do what you need to be safe. Hold on to the hope that ascension brings, and read Dan Brown's Secret of Secrets. Thank you. So you said that the person beyond help is called a hopeless... No, not a hopeless case. There is something in the Law of One that they call true helplessness. That's a term they use in the Law of One, which is, again, my spiritual source text. True helplessness is defined as those who keep repeating the same experiences without learning anything new from them. That's a very specific definition that has to do with why the cycles of karma keep spinning and the cycle keeps repeating. And how do you get past that? Well, the idea is that you seek the love in this moment. Each additional seeking of love in the moment creates an exponential increase in the power that you can draw upon. That's one of the two main Law of One teachings for exponential spiritual power increase. The other one is reflect upon the past for how it informs the present. Each new memory from the past that helps you see the present more clearly, again, creates an exponential increase. So it's a very, very valuable thing to be aware of your past, to be aware of your history, to be aware of where you suffered, what happened to you in the past, and how those issues reflect upon the present. So there's only two issues they ever gave that cause exponential power increase. And the main one, again, is seeking the love in this moment. So the way that we do that is actually through the meditative spiritual focus. And the law of one does not say whether you have to do concentrative meditation, which is where you concentrate on a particular symbol or form, or you could do chanting, you could do a syllable of some kind. They don't tell you whether you have to do concentrative meditation or whether you have to do contemplative meditation, which is just contemplating and trying to cultivate inner silence. Both of them are actually important, but we want to keep that focus. Deborah Ouellette says the cute videos are still out there. You just have to go look at them. Okay, well, that's not the one. I'm definitely not getting that on my feed. That's all I can say. Sage Marie Springer, past attention has been popping up a lot for me these last days. I feel that is a message to you all. Angels for Us says, love you, David, and y'all. Thanks for your positive show. Please send me healthy prayers, thought vibes, and or love tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm having an ultrasound to find out if I have cancer again. Yes, we absolutely do. Angels for Us send you healthy prayers, thoughts, vibes, and love. Thank you, Father, Mother, God. Thank you, Creator. Thank you, Universe, however we choose to call it. Send angels for us, your healing light. And to all those in need of prayer and healing, as we said, let's just focus that consciousness, focus that love. It's a beautiful thing. So again, I really can't stress enough the importance of meditation. It's easy to lose track of these things. Now, you've heard that before. Oh yeah, David said that so many times. But again, what we're really talking about here is that the rubber is meeting the road. We're in the middle of the full moon right now. Things are really amping up. It's a very intense time to be alive. It's stressful. It's crazy. There's ups and downs that you don't see coming. And so we really want to hold the light and remember to breathe. Remember to tune. Let's do that right now. Just tune into your breath with me right now. This is a participation audience exercise. Let's breathe in through the mouth. Exhale. Breathe in through the nose and exhale through the mouth. And again, breathe in through the nose and exhale through the mouth. One last time, in through the nose. And just keep on going now with those healing breaths. Feel that healing energy. Feel that loving consciousness flowing through you. It's so beautiful when you can do that. We're up to 2,647 viewers at 38 minutes. That's really great. Frequency 963, I love your community, David. Thank you very much. And everybody else is saying that too. They love you too. So many metaphysical influences, so intense. Breathing, meditating is so important. Thank you, David. Yeah, so again, I want you to remember this. I want you to remember when things get tough and when you're up against it and you're not in the highest vibration, that the first thing to do is just to step back for 5 minutes and try to breathe. Try to get away from the thoughts. Try to circumnavigate the thoughts. One of the things I've been doing now in order to try to sleep better is to say, look, I'm putting a cap on my anxiety. Once I go to bed, when you're lying in bed, you're not going to have the analytical ability that you normally do. You're not going to have the focus of consciousness. You're not going to remember as much. You're not going to be able to really problem solve. But we end up trying to do problem solving while we're in bed. That can create insomnia. I know it has for me. So again, just breathe through it, and sure enough, all of a sudden, the magic of sleep will be yours. And I've had many nights now where I'm worried about something, and then I can just breathe through it, and I find myself able to fall asleep. And so it really does work. Smash the like button. That's right. Remarkable how much deep breathing can help. So yes, you guys are into it, and you're all on the same page here. So learning to relax is difficult for me too, says Space Cadet Lottie. I get it. It is a hard discipline, but it really can happen. So when you go into meditation, what you want to do is just observe. You're not necessarily trying to have no thoughts. This is a very common misperception about meditation from most people. They think that in meditation that you're not supposed to be thinking, that you're supposed to just eliminate all your cognitive thoughts altogether. That's not necessarily true. You observe the ebb and flow of your thoughts, but you don't engage them. You just let them move through you as you focus on your breathing. And then what we're going to find is, as you do this, that how we are thinking, how we create our thoughts in this meditation has an enormous impact upon our experience. Our thoughts are very creative. And in fact, as the Seth books once said, you create your own reality. That is so important. So learning how to navigate the labyrinth of your thoughts, again, when negativity comes up, stopping to breathe, stopping to meditate, that is of critical importance in getting the life that you want to have. Undisciplined thinking, in traditional Buddhism, they call that the monkey mind, and many people, call that the ego. You find yourself getting stuck in these things, and it is all too easy many times to find yourself going into a negative spiral. So when that starts to happen, you want to be able to intervene pretty quickly and avoid it going out of control, because otherwise you start to have a habit pattern, and this can become very destructive over time. We don't really want that to occur. Why? Because, again, our minds create enormous amounts of power, and I'm going to show you in today's show how that is actually happening in a very tangible way with, again, our sacred geometry discussion. This is something I've talked about before, but it never gets old. Naomi Connell, I couldn't sleep last night. It was 5 a.m. I thought I'd get up and watch you. Well, I'm glad you're here. I've recently started taking MSM as a supplement. I'm dreaming more and more, benefiting from my dreams. Eldon Elder said that. That's really great. 2,700 views. We forget we can shift the outer world with our thoughts. So yes, these are very valuable disciplines. To remember how much creative power your mind has is to then harness that power and have it available to you as needed for your own healing. And this is a critical practice, because if you get stuck in the negative, then you're actually creating outcomes. You're actually magnetizing negative events to yourself. And this is something that, is part of the principle of karma. That which we create is that which comes back to us. As you sow, so shall you reap. So what we start to do after a while is our opinions turn into beliefs. And once you have a belief, that molds your reality. So the idea is that, and I've had this so many times lately, it's really, really wild, and I encourage you to catch yourself in the act doing the same thing. You can end up being so focused on one particular idea of how something is going to work out, and you absolutely believe that's the way it's going to be, man. I know that this is going to happen. I know it's going to turn out this way. And then it turns out, nope. Actually, if you'd spent a little more time and been a little more positive, it would have all turned around. Everything would have been great. So you got to really try to focus on that as much as you can. Don't get sucked into this idea that there's an inevitable outcome for one thing or another. Try to rise above that feeling of doom and that feeling of inevitability, because once you create beliefs, that actually starts to really shape things, and it will magnetize to itself. Negative self-talk does eventually become larger than life. And so, again, we have these strong expectations about things, how things are going, and sometimes they're totally wrong. So if you can learn to cultivate this positive attitude, it really can make a difference for you. Again, this seems almost absurdly simple, and some people are going to be like, oh my God, David, this is like Metaphysics 101. None one says humor is the key to ascension. I absolutely agree. Gabriel Armendariz says, I've been getting odd head feelings, slight discomfort. I keep getting them until I started to read the Law of One, and since then my discomfort hasn't returned. That's great. So, why so serious, says Phil Dorge. Healing arts is definitely part of my life theme. I think it must be. So much karma, reincarnated from past lives, soul amnesia blocked and scrubbed off, so many healing secrets, says Kasha Rose. So yeah, we're in a really good place when you start to be able to focus on the positive and dream into that reality. Know that that reality is around you, and it really does exist. It makes a huge difference. It takes mental discipline, because as you can see right now, we're being surrounded by negative influences. It's just something that's always in your face. It's in our path. It's appearing everywhere. And that does concern me. It concerns me that so many of us are being bombarded with this kind of stuff. Charlie Winter, does the Law of One mention our ascension coming soon? The Law of One actually said that it was going to be a gradual process that would start taking place around the year 2011. And we're well past that now. But I know that again, with my own work with the Michael prophecies, that 2025 is clearly a pivotal year. And does this mean that all of it is going to happen this year? Probably not. I mean, we're already into October. I might have been a little bit ambitious in terms of expecting everything all at once, but I think absolutely the disclosure is already taking place right now. We've got this 3-Eye Atlas thing happening. We've got Congress talking about UFOs. We've got the world seeing the truth. And so this clearly, I think from a faraway perspective, you could look at 2025, that year, as the maiden tipping point between when people were asleep and when people were awake. Now, does that mean that all of these different aspects of the scenario that we were looking at are going to happen this year? I don't know yet. It's too early to tell. I'm certainly not going to rule it out. And we had a lot of sources, different sources, tell us some pretty amazing stuff about the year 2025. Eldon Elder, be aware and acknowledge your perceptions, welcome the constructive influences, and forbid access to destructive influences. Absolutely. Darlene McCurdy says, thank you for all you share. So we're really good. We're really good on that. And it's a great time for all of us to learn these disciplines. And again, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but it's very good to be reminded of this sometimes in a friendly setting like what we have right now. The negative influences can be surmounted by this principle of Namaste. This is a term that comes directly out of the Hindu faith, as you may know. And it also, I believe, has beautiful crossovers with traditional Christian philosophy, where, in fact, the concept of Namaste, the concept of forgiveness are very closely related. I don't really see them as anything different. I think that basically different religions have been trying to tell us the same thing in different ways. But it's interesting, if you go to like an Indian restaurant and you say Namaste to the people who are there, the people who are working there, usually it goes over very well. And this is something that I find is a really great part of Hindu culture, that they're always honoring the divine within each other. So let's unpack this a little bit. You type it in on Google. What does Namaste literally mean? It literally means I bow to you. It is a phrase in Sanskrit that combines the words nama, which means bow and salutation, and te, to you. So in its literal sense, it is a respectful greeting conveying a sense of humility and acknowledgement of another person's presence and inherent worth. So acknowledging that there is a spark of the divine within each one of us, that is really the key to forgiveness, and I will explain why in just a second. Seeing the divine in each other, conveying a sense of humility, and I bow to you. I mean, that's so interesting, right? I mean, normally we're not thinking that way when we meet somebody. We might be agitated. We might have trouble at work, trouble at home, trouble with the car, can't pay the bills. We're in a grocery store. We're not saying, oh, I bow to you, I bow to the sacredness within you. But in the Hindu culture, they actually do that. So Namaste is a very popular greeting, and it's used quite frequently. So it's an interesting perspective shift to have a culture where that type of a greeting is kind of baked into the basic user experience that people have of being, walking around every day and just doing their daily routine. They say Namaste. It's wow. It's a very intense acknowledgement of the divine. It's a very spiritual practice that I think we could all benefit from and learn to do more of. Now, it doesn't mean that you literally say Namaste. But I think, again, reminding yourself that everyone has that spark of the Creator, that everyone has that divine within them, is a very, very important principle that will get you a long way. And it really does help in so many different ways to have your world be changed as you learn to honor the sacredness in others and really be able to live in that space and adapt to that understanding. The divine in me honors the divine in you. What if that was your main focus in your meditation? It's beautiful. So the deeper meaning here, as it says, this is right on, you do it on Google. It's just what I did. Beyond the literal translation, Namaste signifies a spiritual understanding where one recognizes a divine spark or sacred essence within another person. It is often either expressed as the divine in me honors the divine in you, or the light in me sees the light in you. And I've heard it also, they've used the word God, but God is kind of masculine gendered, so probably better to use the word divine. This deeper meaning acknowledges that all beings are connected by the same divine energy or soul. Cultivating peace through Namaste, acknowledging the universal oneness. That's what the Law of One's all about. When we honor the divine within one another, Namaste emphasizes that we have a shared essence of humanity, and it fosters our sense of connection and unity with one another. It also promotes ethical treatment. Recognizing the sacred within all individuals encourages ethical behavior, loving kindness, and compassionate interactions. It certainly does. It's reminding us that we're all human. We all deserve to be happy. We all deserve to have a good life. And it's very positive. And then expression of goodwill. It can also be understood as an invocation of peace, as the act itself is a gesture of goodwill, a recognition of intrinsic worth, and leading to greater personal and interpersonal peace. So this is all really great stuff, isn't it? And when you see the divine in someone, it means that you can forgive the shadow. In other words, you're not going to get so angry about the things that that person has that are not in alignment. You're not going to be so upset by the things that might trigger you. You understand the divine is there. And so this is a principle that can really channel a long way for all of us, to learn how to just be in kindness and in love and in humility. And even if that person is temporarily distracted by negative emotions, it doesn't have to stay that way. It can move well beyond that, and you can have really positive things start to happen. So forgiving the shadow is not something that only has a partial, it is all-inclusive. And that means, again, that the universe is designed to forgive anything that goes wrong. There's always ways that we can work this stuff off. There's always ways that we can turn it around, make our lives better. And, that's a very beautiful thing. Now, another concept I want to bring in about the concept of Namaste, this personal principle, was a spiritual discipline that I became aware that many people were following in Japan. It wasn't like everybody, but there was a lady who I met, and she was doing this thing that a lot of people do, which is that they focus on the word arigato. The word arigato means thank you. So in addition to the concept of Namaste, the divine in me sees the divine in you, the concept of gratitude, the concept of thanks, this was very interesting because in Japan, she was this particular woman who was helping to lead the tour I was on. She would say arigato over and over again. And in her case, and many other people were doing this apparently, she had a clicker. So she'd go arigato, 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 and keep clicking it and clicking it. Now, do you literally need to do that with a clicker? No. But to be thankful, thankfulness is another really important concept that I think can go a long way. Thankfulness even for the negative, even for the things that upset you. Can you actually pull that off? Can you do that big mental 180 in your mind and go from feeling overwhelmed by something that hurts you, something that causes you pain? Can you change that? Can you flip that around and turn it into a positive where you're actually thanking the universe for whatever it is that's going on? Thank the universe for the difficulty that you're feeling. It's actually possible. It can be done. It's not easy, but this is a challenge that we all have. This is a challenge that can really propel you to greater and greater heights, to learn how to be more fulfilled, more grateful. That's right, Boon 22, learn how to be more grateful. Gabrielle F. says, I get overwhelmed when I go outside and see people struggling and homeless. I will spend more time feeling gratitude, especially for all of you. At Kelly Martin, first letter of your name dropped. Bella's patio garden, sometimes I can pull it off. Sometimes difficulties lead to better things. Ultraviolet says, I struggle with knowing so much, like many in this comment section. Subjects you discussed, David, but being in the world of normies who do not know anything that's going on, that is not easy. I agree. It's very difficult sometimes to live in this world and be around people who just don't get it. But you want to bless them, you want to see the sacred in them, and you want to be thankful for whatever your experiences are. It can be a very difficult discipline. And I'm only telling you something that I myself have not fully understood, but I'm working on it. I'm practicing it as much as I can. I'm trying to get through it as best I can. It's very, very important practice. honoring the divine in yourself and others, giving gratitude for all of those things that you have, and being willing to then elevate your thoughts to this higher standard. So important. Also, thank the universe for its willingness to forgive. The universe is built for forgiveness. The universe is built so that nothing is unredeemable, that you are able to be redeemed, you are able to find true salvation, if you want to use a Christian term, because again, to go into that discipline for a second, all things are forgivable within the eyes of the Christ. You know, it isn't like forgiveness has exemption clauses that says, well, yeah, you know, you can be forgiven as long as you didn't do that, or as long as you didn't do that. If you did those things, then it's going to be a big problem. But no, this is, again, these sound really simple, and I get that, but one of the most important principles of spirituality is to not overlook the simple teachings and to not get lost in all the arcanum, all the arcane, complicated, philosophical things that can be really, really interesting. And I usually like to go for that deeper level stuff, but you don't want to lose track of the things that are simple either. The simple teachings keep coming back around, and you go farther and farther down the road of spirituality, and then you realize actually the simple things matter even more. And that's why it's interesting that as you go farther along in your meditation, as you go farther along in the ascension process, these master yogi meditators, they're not getting into all kinds of really specific technical details. They're pretty much, for the most part, getting into these simple concepts of like meditation and forgiveness and namaste. You know, the Hindu sages are very, very big into this, seeing the divine in yourself, seeing the divine in others, and really learn to cultivate that continuously. It's easy to do it when you're in a good mood. It's much harder to do it when you're in a bad mood. And again, nothing is outside of the realm of the forgiveness of Christ. Whatever you choose to call that higher power, it's always there. It's waiting for you. The universe is actually designed for this very purpose. The universe is built for forgiveness. And forgiveness is a critical concept in the law of one. So let's take a look at this again. This is session 17, question 20, where it says, in forgiveness lies the stopping of the wheel of action, or what you call karma. And so the concept of the wheel being stopped, and they specifically make a comparison to this later on, to the idea of like a car, and that you're hitting the brakes on a car. As you're driving the car, you actually slam on the brakes. And so karma, in other words, when you violate free will, that's the basis of what creates karma. The violation of free will creates action. It creates movement. It starts the wheel spinning. The spinning of the wheel creates movement of energy, and forgiveness causes brakes to hit the wheel. This is something I don't usually talk about. It's one of the interesting things the Law of One says. In session 34.4 is where this comes in now. Would you define karma? And they say, and again, this is an Egyptian source, but it was apparently the same thing as Archangel Michael, so it did identify as the source Ra. And again, this made it user-friendly for me. I grew up in a family that was antagonistic to Christianity, but I could handle some Egyptian being saying something. And I think ultimately it's a very Christian source. We went through all that last week. It talked about the pyramid being the monument for the coming Christ, the Great Pyramid. We've talked about that extensively. So it says, our understanding of karma is that which may be called inertia. And inertia is the tendency of a body to remain in motion if it stays in motion. Once you set something in motion, it will tend to stay in motion unless acted upon by some type of outside force. Well, there is an inertial force in space and time itself that will gradually slow things down. That's part of what the ether is really about. But, you know, how do you stop that inertia? Well, forgiveness stops this inertia. Those actions which are put into motion will continue using the ways of karmic balancing until such time as the controlling or higher principle, which you may liken unto your breaking or stopping, is invoked. There you go. So the stoppage of the inertia of action may be called forgiveness, and these two concepts are inseparable. Isn't that strange? It's a very weird meditation on forgiveness to compare the idea of forgiveness to the idea of putting brakes on a car that is running at a particular speed. So let's just unpack this a little bit and think about how it could affect you. Antonia McClure says, go back to hurtful, damaging relationships. Mentally apply Namaste to those memories. Forgiveness becomes easier. See, very wise. Learning to see even the past from a different perspective brings freedom. David Savage says, in Tattvarta Sutra of Jainism, Dharma is defined as motion and adharma as rest. Sage Marie Springer, so funny. I just started the first book of the Law of One on Audible for the third time 3 hours ago. Michael Anderson, thank you, David. I had kind of a rough night last night. I really appreciate your insight today. Namaste. Get well soon and check your hair. What's wrong with my hair? Anyway, I'll fix it a little bit more. That was Don Wickham. Thought I needed to check my hair. Anyway, so we're at 2,833 viewers. That's pretty darn good for where we are. Forgiveness to others was easy. Forgiveness of myself is what is much harder. That's Vicky Gray. Couldn't agree more. I absolutely agree with you. So again, how do you get to this point? Actions put in motion will continue until the breaking or stopping is invoked, and the stopping of the inertia of action may be called forgiveness. So you really can't stop your karma from continuing to affect you until you forgive yourself for whatever it is. So however negative your thoughts have gone, whatever you feel that you need to judge yourself over, you feel that you're inadequate, you feel you haven't done enough, you haven't said enough, you haven't been enough, okay, forgive yourself. Just take a pause and don't let that keep on going. Forgiveness throws the brakes onto the process of your karma. It's a fascinating concept. It can actually stop you from continuing to move into events that are going to hurt you, events that are going to cause pain, events that are going to cause disruption. Forgiving yourself is so important, and it really is the key of this whole spiritual teaching, the Law of One. If an entity develops what is called karma in an incarnation, is there then programming that sometimes occurs so that he will experience catalyst to enable him to get to the point of forgiveness and thereby alleviate karma? You remember catalyst from last week. Catalyst is experiences that usually are upsetting. This is in general correct, says the source. However, both self and any other involved other self may at any time, through the process of understanding, acceptance, and forgiveness, ameliorate these patterns. So at any time you can activate forgiveness and you can stop your karma from moving forward. It is not too late. If you feel like you're already over the edge, it's already beyond hope, you can't get beyond this, something is coming your way, it's inevitable, it's zooming in like a guided missile and there's nothing you can do about it, no. Don't accept the idea that some inevitable bad karmic outcome is coming your way. That's not what the Law of One teaches. Karma can be fixed. The brakes can be applied. The car does not have to careen into that outcome. You're not on a fixed trajectory here. You can stop it. You can put the brakes on. You can throw the brakes on through these three things: understanding, acceptance, and forgiveness. Understanding yourself, understanding your weaknesses, and then having that principle of Namaste, that you say, I understand that I have negativity. I understand that I have weakness. I understand that I'm not always aligned with the highest vibrations. I understand that I don't always have things clear in my mind. I believe, I have opinions, I have negative thoughts that become opinions, that become beliefs, and I can believe that, oh, well, now I've thrown this into action, and my karma is inevitable, and I've got this bad thing coming my way, there's nothing I can do about it. No, don't fall for that. The miracles can always happen, and when you begin practicing this stuff, you can throw the brakes on your karma, you can start to practice forgiveness, David, he does not live with his hair. God has made us all lovely people. That's funny. Beam us up, Scotty. We've all had enough, says Jenny Long. John Patrick, happy birthday. My dog loves listening to David on Sundays just like I do. Frequency 963, I turn forgiveness into quote-unquote God. I forgive this to you. Please fight this battle for me so my heart can remain as light as a feather. By reframing like that, it works for me. Somebody wants Angry Daddy. Well, I'm not really feeling this forgiveness stuff, son. There's stuff that you've done way back in your past that angers me so much that to think that I'm going to just sit here and listen to you say all this stuff and that you should be forgiven. No, son, there's a time for punishment, there's a time for pain, and there's a time for you to have to shape up or ship out, because if you're under my roof, you're going to have to live under my rules, and I will not stand here and tolerate all this nonsense and the BS, because I have had it. Woo, yeah. Got to smoke a little bit of that at the end to make it count. Little bit of angry daddy to fire it up for you. I need help with negative self-talk within me. It feels like it overshadows me a lot of times, says Sprint Royal. Angry daddy is in the house, and for God's sake, David, for just once in your life, would you please learn to just tighten up your behavior and stop trying to say all these nonsensical things that, oh, all you have to do is forgive, and then nothing bad is ever going to happen again. And you get to just live your life and go on making mistakes, but all I got to do is just say, please forgive me, because, yeah, Daddy, I screwed up. I did it again. I made the same mistake that you warned me about. No, son, listen. If you don't shape up, your life is just going to spiral and spiral and spiral out of control, and that's not the kind of life I want you to have, son. I want you to be held accountable. I want to yell at you when you get in trouble, because I have had it. Woo! That's not what forgiveness is about, man. But many of us probably had punitive experiences. Angry Daddy is a crusty old man, crustier than a hobo's underwear, says Rocky Angel. Bonjour, David. Bonjour. Poutine. I have had it. Right. So, yeah, we've all had these voices in our past. We've all had people who made it feel difficult to be alive and were judgmental and not appreciative of who and what we really are. And that can take a lot of stress. It can take a lot of stress when you have those types of individuals in your life. But, you know, I like to exaggerate. My father's actually really great. So, life is going to get better for you the more that you learn to apply forgiveness. So again, the three principles here are understanding, acceptance, and forgiveness. Learning to understand why it is that you have these negative thoughts. Understand what has held you back from being able to see the divine in yourself. Understand why you feel that your opinions become beliefs and why those beliefs. Understand and accept that you have had a magnetic effect on your reality, that you're creating your own reality. And if you let yourself go into negativity, if you let yourself go into stress, then you're going to have issues. You're going to have problems. Suzanne Ariel Luna, David, you're an incredible soul, so kind, wise, hardworking, and talented. You deserve the very best for being there for us now. Thank you very much. David, everything should come out of the heart, says Mira Patel. I totally agree. Laughter is good for the soul, says Charlene Sampson. I have had it with all negative crap that bugs me. There you go. So, you know, I feel like we're all moving in the right direction here, and let's unpack this a little bit more. Understanding acceptance and forgiveness can ameliorate these patterns. This is true at any point in an incarnative pattern. Thus, one who has set in motion an action may forgive itself and then never again make that error. You can actually heal completely. You can stop the wheel of karma from spinning. You can learn how to just completely erase a habit pattern so that it doesn't end up being something that just defines you. Outlast Fertility just donated. Many are saying that your birth certificate and da-da-da ties you to this matrix system. Some are saying that certain laws can break those. That is curious. Well, I've heard those things before, but I also know that I've heard people who got in a lot of trouble for doing those things. Donald Barker says, discipline is so good. I like this saying. Consider it all joy, my brother, and when you encounter various trials, know the testing of your faith produces endurance, and let your endurance have. I don't know, maybe he got cut off there at the end. Anyway, I think there's something important to that, says Scott Monson. So look, this is all really good stuff. You can never again make the error. By using the principle of forgiveness, you ameliorate the patterns. And this also, again, breaks or stops what you call karma. There's that concept of the breaks again. And then here again, it says healing is a process of acceptance, forgiveness, and if possible, restitution. So sometimes in order to forgive yourself and to forgive the action and put the brakes on, you have to do restitution. Now, what is restitution? Restitution involves paying back. So karma can involve that as a very strong part of your focus, where you're paying back that which you might have caused damage to occur. So like, for example, if in past lives you had negativity, if you were a negative person, you did negative things, you may have somebody in this life who comes in and you end up taking care of them, you end up helping them, and then it turns out that that is a repayment for something that you may have done before. And even in this lifetime, if you're engaging in negative behavior, if you're engaging in things like this, you can give back. So these videos ameliorate a lot of karma for me. I'm giving back to the universe, I'm giving back to the community, I'm teaching you these principles that also are healing me at the same time they're healing you, because again, doing this video and doing public service to others work, that is a definite form of restitution. Restitution being, again, paying back whatever damages you might have done in an effective and positive way. That really does count for a lot, and it's something that we can all benefit from if we meditate on that principle and follow it. So we end up acknowledging and accepting the imperfections that we have. That is the basis of the Namaste principle. Acknowledging and accepting our imperfections and learning that, yes, it's okay. It's okay that we have these imperfections. We don't have to be defined by them. We don't have to be ruined by them. We can move beyond that, and we can move back into a state of true grace and happiness and love. And that is so much better. So forgiveness is not as simple as you thought. It also, again, forgiving yourself is releasing the problem of things just spiraling out of control. You accept, you understand, you put the brakes on, and you accept your imperfections. You recognize that you don't have to be perfect. So many of us are perfectionists. We say, oh my God, I have to do this, I have to be this person, I have to. No, maybe not. Maybe you don't have to be in that zone. Maybe you don't have to be worried about the same thing. Maybe you can get beyond that at some point. Charlie Winner says, doing our shadow work allows the forgiveness and humility that we need to see the Christ in ourselves and others. Absolutely. Scott Monson, I have looked and I've only found discordant refrains. I go with the truth, which is I am a living, breathing example of the Creator. I need not jump through any hoops legally or otherwise. Well, yeah, you want to accept that in the moment. And again, the restitution usually will be delivered to you just by natural karmic process. You don't necessarily end up having to seek it out, but it happens. We just had a $100 donation. That's Lisa Marie 2464. Communion with the divine, forgiveness and service to others. This is how you walk. David Wilcock. I strive daily to do the same. The divine light within me truly honors the divine light within you. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very, very much for that. So acknowledging and accepting your own imperfections. This is another thing that the Law of One really teaches us. Healing occurs, and again, they explain the Law of One. This is in my Michael Prophecy books, that healing and ascension are essentially the same concept. They work off of the same idea that once you have healed all of the imperfections that you have, you're actually ready to evolve into a higher form of human being. And so we're all inherently unhealed in third dimensional reality. We all have difficulties and blockages. Another $100 donation just came in. Thank you, Larry Schmidt. There he is right there. You cannot be unhappy and grateful in the same moment. The attitude of gratitude saved my life. You'll see it in my book when I release it. Much love, light workers. Be present. That's why it's a gift. The gift of the present. That's right. Larry Schmidt, thank you very much for that. 2,800 views right now. We're doing really well here. So this is, again, a really interesting line that they have that's all tied in with forgiveness and healing. Healing occurs when a mind-body-spirit complex, that's what they call a person, realizes deep within itself the law of one. That is, there is no disharmony. There is no imperfection. All is complete and whole and perfect. That's Namaste, man. The divine in me sees the divine in you, sees the divine in everything. We see where it is, we see what it is. Thus, the intelligent infinity within this mind-body-spirit complex then reforms the illusion of your body, mind, or spirit into a form congruent with the law of one. Reforming your mind. Your mind can be reformed. The whole way in which you think, your prejudices, your hang-ups, your beliefs, your ideations, your illusions, the things that have defined you that you thought were so true, you can reformat your mind. You can reboot your mind and bring it into something totally different than what it was before, to elevate your consciousness beyond the distractions that once defined you. That is the glory of healing that can occur, and it also involves, again, the healer, who can act as an energizer or catalyst for this completely individual process. So what I'm doing here is I'm helping to heal you. This is a healing transmission where, again, you can realize within yourself that you do not have disharmony, you do not have imperfection, that everything is whole and complete and perfect. That even in your apparent imperfection, it has value, because whatever you think is imperfect is actually helping you grow. It's actually something that incentivizes you to be a new person, to be a better person, to be a higher example of what you really want to be. Marina says, David, your words are powerful and healing today. And Paul Cannon says, this is what Christians call being born again. DC Knowledge and Entertainment says, David, this is amazing. Kenneth B2, I once planned to hang out after my yoga class, but the teacher said none must stay. So then I left. And Vacapalo just showed up and says, well, hello. Hello, Vacapalo. I don't know where you are, if you're live with us or if you started at the beginning, but thanks for being here. We have a long-term supporter there. Got here late. I was watching President and the Navy's 250th celebration. The still small voice once told me at a very specific time, nothing is broken and nothing is lost. So yes, this concept that all is whole and complete and perfect, that is what they call in the Law of One, the seventh density teaching. That's the highest level teaching that you're supposed to get to before you reunify with the one infinite creator. The realization that everything is the way it is, and it's okay, and that negativity and suffering and negative things that happen inspire you towards greater movement and growth in consciousness. Movement and growth is what the negative does. It actually causes things to shift and causes movement to occur. And it's only, again, in forgiveness that you stop the movement. Forgiveness puts the brakes on, and then you get to stand right there and embody into your higher concept. It's a really beautiful practice. Charlie Winter, we are here for you as much as you are for us, David. She donated. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that very much. Sage Marie Sprenger, in this life I've had to abandon myself, law of one, to find myself, law of one, once again. Absolutely. So no disharmony, no imperfection. That is a radical teaching that is in the realm of like yogis and gurus and the highest masters, where they learn how to get beyond that. Vacapala says, yes, I'm live and I'll catch up later with your previous half show. Absolutely. Unity realization is the end of separation consciousness, says Chris G. Tom McWhorter says, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It certainly does. Frequency 963, like I said, I've come to the conclusion that the situations of abuse I went through put me in to be trained for radical acceptance. Christina Trifan says, thank you so much for everything, David. Everyone who knows you and knows your life and knows your work loves you and blesses you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. So no disharmony. All is whole and complete and perfect. It's a beautiful teaching. So again, the idea is accepting yourself is the acceptance of others. Again, there is no disharmony. There is no imperfection. You stated yesterday that forgiveness is the eradicator of karma. I am assuming that balanced forgiveness for the full eradication of karma would require forgiveness not only of other selves, but the forgiveness of self as well. Am I correct? And then they say, yes, you are correct. We will briefly expand upon this understanding in order to clarify. Forgiveness of other self is forgiveness of self. An understanding of this insists upon full forgiveness upon the conscious level of self and other self, for they are one. A full forgiveness is thus impossible without the inclusion of self. And this is the principle of Namaste. We learn how to embrace ourselves, we learn how to embrace others, and that full forgiveness carries us such a long way. It transforms everything about our reality, and it reformats the hologram in a beautiful, beautiful way. So more on healing and on the heart of the self. This is another law of one teaching. You have been given information upon healing, as you call this distortion. This information may be seen in a more general context as ways to understand the self. The understanding, experiencing, accepting, and merging of the self with self and other self, and finally with the Creator, is the path to the heart of self. So understanding, experiencing, accepting, and merging, something that a lot of us don't do. We have walls up and we wall ourselves off from other people. We wall ourselves off from their feelings. Merging and accepting, understanding is the path to the heart of the self, to realize we are all one, and therein flows universal love and, again, the principle of Namaste. It's beautiful. In each infinitesimal part of yourself resides the one in all of its power. And so you see it in everyone, you see it throughout the whole creation, it's everywhere. Therefore, we can only encourage these lines of contemplation, always stating that the prerequisite of meditation, contemplation, or prayer as a means of subjectively or objectively using or combining various understandings to enhance your seeking process. Without such a method of reversing the analytical process, one could not integrate into unity the many understandings gained in such seeking. So the analytical process doesn't help you. The prerequisite of meditation, contemplation, or prayer is really where it's at here. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to take a little break for the first part of our show, because again, it's gotten cold. I think I left the window open in the other room, and so cold air is flowing in, so I need to do that right now. So I'm going to also get a little something to eat because my blood sugar is kind of low. So let's open up our nature reels, and I'm going to show you one that's another kind of interesting one here. We're going to do tungsten mines and raspberries. Let's see, yeah, we'll do that one. All right. So this is a standard part of the show. Please don't leave. I just got to get something to eat, get my blood sugar up. But I'll be back really soon. So I mute my microphone. Then we roll this clip from back when it was still nice and warm outside. And I'm showing you the mining of the tungsten that happened on this land and how these raspberries ended up growing as a result of the mining. So here we go. All right, my microphone is off, and let's do tungsten mines and raspberries. Here we go. And action. Oh, and by the way, if it's running over and I repeated it, then tell me in the comments if it's repeating. I don't think I'm going to take 7 minutes, but hopefully if I do, you'll just tell me. Thank you. Okay, things are getting really scary and ominous now. We had a little burst of sun. Clouds are about to eat it up, but check this out, you guys. This is so hilarious. I was showing you the historic garbage on the land. And in World War I, zip up that. In World War I, they were eating raspberries that they got from the market, and they carried raspberries with them. So every place that these guys were digging, looking for tungsten, they were sloppy eaters dropping raspberries on the ground. So if you look inside there, we actually, on the right there, we have a huge, beautiful raspberry plant. And it turns out that they were so sloppy with their eating. See, those are more of the weeds we got to get rid of. Okay, that's a really... They're so sloppy with their eating that they drop raspberries everywhere. This is a very noisy one, so we're going to go with one that hopefully isn't so noisy. Let's see if this one's any better.
Okay, things are getting...
That's,
Okay, so we are...
okay. Hold on. I'm going to give you guys a different one that doesn't have all that wind noise, because I know I wouldn't want to hear that. So, let's see. I'm just going to find... Let's do the old classic, David and the Brother Outwalk the Tornado. I think that one is my favorite of all time. And I don't want you guys to have to, hear all that wind noise. So here we go. This is like the classic one. You guys will never get tired of seeing this one. So David and the Brother Outwalk the Tornado. It really feels very apropos in light of the sacredness of everything that we're talking about now. So here we go. All right. Sorry about all that wind noise. Okay, so we got really bad storm clouds coming. We're trying to find the... We got to find the backpack. Got to find the tools. We have to find my jacket.
Gloves.
And we have like 10 minutes before it's supposed to be a thunderstorm.
Tools.
We're already getting wet.
Treasures.
It is raining. I've got this inane chatter in the background that is extremely frustrating. I don't even want to listen to it, really. I'm just kind of done with it, you know?
Look at that cloud. It's like a funnel cloud, brother. Look at that one.
Yeah, that sounds great. Let's have a funnel cloud. Dude, that does look like a funnel cloud. What the...
Yeah, it's manifesting right in front of us.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Are we about to die here? Is this going to turn into a tornado? Dude, that is legitimately very scary. Okay, let's keep going. Holy shit, dude.
Keep an eye on that cloud.
Oh, no. Yeah, keep an eye on that.
It is literally twisting, though.
It is actually twisting.
Yeah. I've never been this close to a funnel cloud.
Well, let's hope it doesn't touch down. All right, so we got our stuff here. Finding all kinds of good things. That's one of our tools, but we got to figure out where we actually were. I think it's over here. Jesus, dude.
Look at this. Look at the twister now, dude.
It's still spinning.
Yeah.
Are we stupid? We might be. Oh, there's our stuff. Okay. Yes. Praise the Lord. Please don't kill us with a tornado right now.
Yeah, I got kids.
I got a life to live, man. I'm not done yet. All right, so this is our other quarry. The funnel cloud is kind of dissipating, or not. No, it's still spinning, dude. We should get the hell out of here.
Yeah. They got thinner, too.
All right.
There was another base camp, though. This was the secondary one.
Our stuff. Dude, that thing is still going.
Yeah, never seen anything like that. Thank God it's not going to touch down.
How do we know? Let's just get the hell out of here, man.
There was another base camp, though, because my coffee and the gloves.
Oh, crap.
That's fine. We can get that when there's no this cloud now. Look how skinny it is.
Jesus, dude. We're about to be swallowed up into the reptilian mothership.
Yeah, you better mow.
And I'm getting wet. It's starting to rain even more.
You better mow. Yeah.
Jesus, dude, it's a freaking funnel cloud.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
I'm really not the most content. But we got our stuff. We're escaping this. There's a mushroom. All right, let's get the other piece of tool here. Grab that one.
Oh, there's the gloves.
Yay. Okay, I think we're good now.
Yeah. We'll have to find that other one after the storm.
How's our funnel cloud has gotten even worse.
Yeah.
Dude, it's worse.
Definitely bigger.
We need to get inside the house.
It's definitely bigger.
It's crazy.
We may even have to go in the basement. That's what we do in Iowa.
Jesus, dude, it's really spinning.
Yeah, it's big too. It's
God.
moving fast. It's moving fast, though.
All right.
It's not gonna touch. We're fine.
How do you know?
Because it's like,
How do you know?
I'm estimating, but it seems to be.
So far, it's staying above the ground, but it's moving closer to us.
I'm guessing about
It's moving closer to us. This is freaking crazy, guys.
Right, we're right in the path of it.
This is crazy.
Rain and wind.
See, we're having a sacred attitude about the whole thing. We didn't. You guys feel the fear?
I can smell it.
I can smell the fear, boy. You get your ass inside that house right now.
Boys.
It's starting to rain. You're gonna have yourself a wee bit of trouble in a minute here. You got a twister coming down, boy. You best not be disrespecting your daddy.
Oh, there's the lightning.
Oh my God. All right. And I go in there and it passes right over my head on the porch. Now we got more stuff. We made it in alive. We're not dead. Oh, dude. Let's just see what's going on out here.
You do. I can't sit.
Lenny Winbach says, Annie M and Uncle Henry. Well, we're not done. We got to look and see if we're about to die. Uh-oh. Look at it. It's right over my head. That was insane. I had no idea. I didn't even notice. It was literally right over my head. It never came down far enough. But again, that's the attitude of like, you know, I mean, I don't recommend you do this at home. This was really stupid and dangerous, but we just decided to, you know, live in that moment. Dude, we're getting freaking hail. What the hell is going on here, boy? What the hell? David, I told you once, I told you 1,000 times. This is goddamn ridiculous, boy. How you gonna live this way? You got pellets of ice coming down like eyeballs. There's eyeballs falling out of the sky. I won't stand for this, David. You're gonna get the camera destroyed. It's all wet. What are you doing? Why are you still filming? Okay, well, we basically lost the tornado, but we gained hail. Freaking crazy, dude. I'm all soaking wet. Look at what's happening in the driveway. Holy crap. It's all just pellets. Anyway, we're at 7 minutes, so here's another commercial break. Thank you guys for watching. Okay. So all right, so let me pause the microphone now. All right, so wow. I mean, that's just, again, we didn't really know that the tornado was there until I'd already committed to going outside. And we just had this kind of attitude of eyeballs, right? I just kind of kept that sacred attitude, like, we're going to be okay. It's going to be fine. And again, please don't try this at home. Now that I'm watching it, it's like, man, we really kind of tempted fate in a way that probably wasn't a good idea. But, you know, you learn from your lessons, and it is kind of a funny thing. And I wanted to have one that, you know, really shows that principle in action. Like, you know, just trusting and having faith and, you know, working through something that most people would be too afraid to deal with. And, you know, that would make them terrified, but we just worked it anyway. Once we saw a tornado was there, we didn't freak out, and we just stayed relaxed and stayed in trust. And that takes discipline. You know, that was not, there was some really genuine concern when I was filming that. Like, wait a minute, do I really, is the backpack worth it, or should we just let it get wet? Should we let it get rained on? But David, I love how you film your own commercials. This is awesome. David Wilcock, everything's going to be okay. Great video today. As always, you put on an exceptional show. I'm always going to be your friend. Midnight Mark is here for you. Tempest Niyama Wolf says, storms are a beautiful gift. Love them and respect them, and you will be fine. So yeah, that was an intense experience, is all I can say. Your friend has cool-looking pants, on another note from what I could see. It says Frequency 965. All right, so, yeah. I don't know today, with the way I'm feeling lately and lack of sleep and everything, I probably wouldn't have taken that risk. When we saw a tornado, I probably would have turned around. And I think that's actually a better move. So I don't want to be a role model or an example here, but again, Jude and I just stayed in this consciousness of like, everything's going to be fine, namaste, and that principle of trust in the universe, which, don't tempt your fate with stupid stuff like that, because you could create karma that you really don't want. But again, here's the quote. In each infinitesimal part of yourself resides the one infinite creator. Therefore, we can only encourage these lines of contemplation, always stating the prerequisite of meditation, contemplation, or prayer as a means of subjectively, objectively using or combining various understandings to enhance the seeking process. Without such a method of reversing the analytical process, one could not integrate into unity the many understandings gained in such seeking. So the analytical process of the mind, we get so convinced that what we believe is true. We're so convinced that something's going to turn out a certain way. Jude and I were not really analyzing the tornado analytically. We just went back to contemplation and prayer. And again, it's not really a good analogy, not a good role model. I get it, but what the heck? I had to play something for you that was not too windy sounding in the background. So, we've been talking about forgiveness. We've been talking about the idea that acceptance and understanding puts the brakes on this principle of karma, this principle of action. And so that's pretty powerful stuff. And a lot of this really comes out of the power of the spoken word. What you say out loud, what you intone, creates your reality. And so the universe is built in a very interesting way because there are really cool relationships between the sounds that we speak with our voice and the reality that is around us. And this is something that's more of an esoteric concept. It's more of a sacred geometry is what it's going to get into. But I wanted to bring you some of this stuff today because, again, I think that it matters tremendously to the understanding of the one intelligent universe that we live in. The idea that there is a relationship between the words that you speak and the actual physical matter around you. There is an energetic relationship where, now, most of the time in this reality, when we speak words, we're not seeing things spontaneously manifest out of thin air. But the law of one does tell us that in these higher dimensional realities, that's what starts to happen. We had a big donation come in, $100. That's awesome. Donna Atwood Experience. David, you are a beautiful soul. From the depths of my heart to the depths of yours, thank you for all that you do. Well, thank you, Donna. That is a great donation. Really appreciate it. Frequency 963, yes, your word is your wand. Florence Scovel Shin wrote about this back in the 1800s, and yes, I'm very familiar with her. She's really a great teacher, and I have a funny pet name that I use for her, but it's not polite to say it out loud about Florence likes to shovel, and then Shin, you can see where this is going, but she does. She'll shovel out the stable for you and get it all cleaned up if you read her philosophy. Your word is your wand. I really like that. So Bella's Patio says, tonight, tomorrow night, we're getting a freeze below zero temperature. Took pictures to remember, say goodbye to all my beautiful flowers and plants. And yesterday I harvested everything that was edible. So yes, this is a philosophical concept that I wanted to get into. I'm going to touch upon some sacred science that I've mentioned to you before, but I want you to think about it in a different way now. I want you to think about it in terms of how the universe is built based on this geometric matrix, and there is also a geometry to sound. So sound creates geometry, and that same geometry is actually the superstructure of the whole universe. And so this is a part where, if you like my sacred science material and you like that kind of stuff, you're going to probably enjoy the second part of the show even better. So what we intone creates reality. This fits very nicely with the geometric universe. And the law of one set the precedent for this science that I ended up discovering after I read it beginning in 1996. So here we go. This is the gateway to intelligent infinity. It can only be opened when there is an understanding of in-streamings of intelligent energy opening up to the healer. We just heard about the healer, and that it's the acceptance, the understanding, the Namaste principle is so important for healing, to recognize that all is whole and pure and complete and perfect as it is. And then you see that perfection in yourself, you see the perfection in your experience, and you're able to accept and forgive. And then in so doing, you put the brakes on karma and you stop things from having to move forward. And sometimes it does involve paying restitution. It's a very, very important principle. So when praying to the Creator, Dennis Smith says, I always thank Him for what He has done for me. Then I pray for those who need healing. Then I pray for Him to send Archangel Michael to protect my home and all of his. That's great. So frost blanket helps. Plants can breathe. Interesting. I didn't know about that. Thank you for all you do, David, says Elvin Cervellin. So again, let's get into this. What are they talking about when they say in-streamings of intelligent energy? Well, normally, there is no intelligent energy in physics and in mathematics and all that stuff. It's very discrete. It's based upon what we can measure, and intelligent energy has been measured, but it's more of something that we see, like, for example, in the wave-particle duality. So you go down to the quantum level, and if we observe the quantum as a wave, it shows up as a wave. If we observe it as a particle, it shows up as a particle. That's just a simple example of something that goes obviously much, much deeper than that. So in-streamings of intelligent energy, what the heck is that all about? The in-streamings, they say in the law of one that we have these chakras, and that each chakra is an energy center that has energy that flows in and energy, well, not all of them have energy that flows in and out, but as you go higher up, they do. But ideally, I believe it says in the law of one that you can activate all of your energy centers and get them all flowing in both directions. But we'd have to go check on that, because again, I don't want to misspeak. Law of one gets extremely technical on stuff like this. But the idea is that the universe is made of an intelligent energy. There is something there that thinks and is conscious and aware, and it actually would be also called the power of Christ. This healing power, hands-on healing, faith healing. We talked about Dr. Danny Benor, 64% of 191 studies, we talked about that last week, showed a positive healing effect. Something is going on that really works. Inspiring Lucid Thought just donated and says, Jesus reminds us, dear children of the creators, take notice of what beauty you possess naturally. Know you're part of the true perfection and not a mistake. I guess that would be a channeled version of Jesus. But yeah, there you go. So I'm really going to miss all of this when it's over tomorrow, says Jack Starr. Well, you can watch it again, You'll be able to watch the show again. It'll always be there. And we're still holding true at 2,700 viewers. Hour and 44 minutes in. It's a great show. Okay, so what is this intelligent energy? Well, the Russians studied this, and they called it torsion fields, and that gets into the Dr. Nikolai Kozyrev material. You could look at it as wave-particle duality. You want to see it a wave, you see a particle. It shows up that way. But Dr. Nikolai Kozyrev actually discovered an energy that can be measured from our thoughts. He created these torsion field detectors, and he found that it is a spin in the gravitational field. Consciousness as we know it actually seems to be a torque, some kind of a torquing spin that uses the gravitation itself as a medium to communicate through. And it can move instantaneously. You can have something across the whole universe move it like a solid object, where you push on one side of a solid object and the other side moves at the same time. So like Kozyrev looked at two stars side by side, and binary stars, they actually share fluctuations of brightness at speeds much faster than light. That was one of the things he discovered. Really, really fascinating, arcane research that, as far as I know, nobody else has really done that, just him. So torsion fields are, again, the fields of consciousness. He noticed that you could raise and lower a weight, and then it would have these waves. It would travel even through a brick wall, and you could measure it with this thing on the other side, this torsion field detector, where a needle would then point towards the weight and actually see that movement. So that's one way that he could do it. He could do it with, bending an object, breaking an object, plants dying, phase shifts from boiling water. When you go from water to the boil, it creates a sudden torsion field. When water freezes, it creates a sudden torsion field. Actually, the water absorbs torsion fields when it freezes. And there's a crystalline change, of course. It goes to a six-sided hexagonal crystal to form ice or snowflakes. So what was so strange, though, was that he built these torsion field detectors and, different methods of doing that we could discuss later. And one day he was reading The Temptation of Faust, and right when Faust was tempted by Mephistopheles the demon, he had this surge of like intense emotion, and he kind of freaked out while he was reading the book. And then at that moment, the needle on his torsion field detector turned and moved towards him. That's a classic part of physics history. And the Russians now, by the late 1990s, had over 40,000 papers, scientific published papers on torsion fields, totally unknown to the West, totally suppressed, considered classified science. But also, when you get into the field of UFOs and things like this, what you find out is that, a UFO, typically, if you're around a real one, it's going to give you this very interesting consciousness effect, a raising of consciousness, a healing effect. People's backache goes away, problems go away, all that kind of stuff can happen. Jack Starr says, conscious energy, intelligent energy are somewhat distinct from each other. One has a soul, the other has my soul. Okay. I don't know why he would say that. That's pretty weird too. So, Anyway, we got some funny things going on here, but that's okay. So, anyway, lots of good positivity going on. Tune in, greetings from Holland. David, you mean we get healed? So yeah, life is good, and our consciousness is good. So here it is. The in-streamings of intelligent energy are opened unto the healer. Kozyrev discovered that, and he says these are the so-called natural laws of your local space-time continuum and its geometric web of electromagnetic sources or nexi of in-streaming energy. So the in-streaming of the intelligent, sorry, I was on the wrong camera. So the in-streamings of intelligent energy are based upon electromagnetic webs, electromagnetic geometric webs of energy. And I'll show you a little more of this. Know then first the mind and the body. Then as the spirit is integrated and synthesized, those are harmonized into a mind-body-spirit complex which can move among the dimensions and which can open the gateway to intelligent infinity, thus healing self by light and sharing that light with others. So this light energy is the energy of healing. And once you get to that point, when you've been healed, again, you have ascended, you can now move among dimensions. True healing is simply the radiance of the self, causing an environment in which a catalyst may occur which initiates the recognition of self by self, of the self-healing properties of the self. So again, when you go through this true healing that they're describing, you're stepping into a grander vision of who and what you really are. You're stepping into that new truth of your own being. And so this is all really good stuff. It's a very important practice. And again, they're saying that the in-streaming intelligent energy is fundamentally geometric in nature. So this gets back into the power of the word. There are certain geometric forms that were analyzed by Plato, and he called them the Platonic, well, they became called the Platonic solids. There's only 5. You have the tetrahedron, which again is triangular on all 4 sides, and each of the lines are the same length. You have the octahedron, which is again equilateral triangles, but it has 8 sides. And Plato associated the tetrahedron with fire, the octahedron with air. Then you have the icosahedron, which is 20-sided, and it's again all equilateral triangles. It looks kind of like a soccer ball, and that's associated with water, which is interesting because it's hexagonal on the outside, and so is the snowflake. Then you have the cube, which has 6 sides of squares, perfect symmetrical squares. And then last but not least, you have the dodecahedron, which is associated with ether, the mysterious ether, and it has 12 sides. So what is it about these shapes? Well, they all fit perfectly inside of a sphere, and this turns out to be one of the most important characteristics about them, is that it's similar to when you pluck a guitar string and you look at the waves on the guitar string. There's a certain wavelength where the same length occurs as the string is going up and down, and there's these turning points where it's turning back and forth in the same place, and each of those wavelengths is the same. So when you do this inside a sphere, each of the corners of these objects touch the sphere perfectly. They don't go over or under, they're right on the edge. And so it appears, again, as I've done many, many times before, watch some of my shows from last year, there is a whole universal system of physics that we can build off of this. Love you, David. Stay safe and strong, says Valeria Negrito. And bless you for stepping up and saying what we are all thinking. When we read the dark comments, Vicky Gray, you bring the light. So, anyway, everything is good. We're fine. A little bit of trolling going on, no big deal. So these shapes, as it turns out, appear in the quantum realm. They show up in the shape of the nucleus of the atom. I've talked about that in many shows. There is a strange arrangement of the continents on Earth, the strange arrangement of the planets in our solar system. Galaxies' arms are shaped in many ways according to this. So these are vibrational shapes. They actually, again, touch the corners of a sphere in a very curious way where it's all equally distant. So here are your 5 shapes right here, once again, and this is the whole new basis of physics that comes out of the law of one, which scientists actually agree with. So are we living underwater? Researchers believe the universe might be a liquid superfluid. New research suggests space-time might be a type of, it's supposed to be type, it says time, might be a type of ultra-cool fluid. Known as a superfluid, this phase of matter possesses unusual qualities. So yes, the superfluid is a big deal. And it says right there, known as a superfluid, it would provide a medium for waves and photons to travel like sound travels in air. Right, so they exist in this greater fluidic medium. For it to exist, researchers say it would need to have 0 viscosity, and it could provide us with a new theory of quantum gravity. So this is, again, the age-old concept of the ether. The concept that photons themselves are in Einstein's model, photons make the universe, right? Photons exist because they are a vibration within this superfluidic medium. It's like a bubble moving through the medium, if you want to look at it that way. And they move at light speed, which of course is something that is the fastest speed that we normally recognize. But in the superfluidic ether, Nikola Tesla's research shows that it can move as a fluid and as a solid both. So you can push on one side of the universe and the other side moves at the same time, if you address it that way. But you can also move through it like a fluid, similar to the idea of a fluid going through a sponge, one bubble at a time. So, again, the law of one says there's geometric centers of energy that are intelligent energy that stream. And so this actually has a great deal of merit when we look at this new research that came out. Again, this was one of the greatest things I ever found. September 17th, 2013, it showed up, and this was a Quantum magazine, A Jewel at the Heart of Quantum Physics. Artist rendering of the amplituhedron, a newly discovered mathematical object resembling a multifaceted jewel in higher dimensions. Encoded in its volume are the most basic features of reality that can be calculated. The Probabilities of Outcomes of Particle Interactions by Natalie Wolchover. What is this all about? Well, it's these two scientists. It's mainly the first one, Nima Arkani Hamed and Yaroslav Trunka. And he is a professor at the Institute for Advanced Study, his former student, finished his PhD at Princeton in July, and is now postdoctoral research at Caltech. So what did they exactly do? What they did is they analyzed some old research that was done in the 1970s by Sir Roger Penrose. There was a debate between Roger Penrose and Stephen Hawking concerning the so-called Big Bang. And the idea was, okay, in Stephen Hawking's version, there was a Big Bang and nothing exploded and became the known universe. Somehow that happened. Okay, no big deal. But in the other view of Sir Roger Penrose, it's very different. He believed that the universe all existed at once. There is no beginning. There is no Big Bang. And he totally refutes the idea. He said, how could anything have not existed? Existence has to always be there. There always has to be a creation of something. So he posited that there was an initial object, that there's an object at the center of the universe. And he figured out that there were ways in which all of the subatomic particle interactions that we look at in the Feynman diagrams, that was Roger Penrose, not Feynman, but Feynman describes the particle interactions. It's 90-page equations that you have to do to figure out what particles are what and how do they behave in things like, chromatography and in a bubble chamber. Okay, so Sir Roger Penrose basically had a theory that the whole universe is the emanation of one specific geometric form, that all of the known universe is existing simultaneously in its totality and in a single unit that was geometric in nature. It's really, really wild. So these two guys actually followed up on that research. They crunched it, and they figured out, yep, it's actually true. All of space and time is emanating from a single geometric form. That's what this article is about. And so it's a fascinating concept. They called it, again, the amplituhedron, and it's also referred to sometimes as a positive Grassmannian. So this is the shape right here, and it's kind of hard to figure out, but then when you look at it this way, that's the actual discovery. So all it really is 4 of those tetrahedrons that I was just showing you. And also, it's curiously similar to the Star of David, that you can build the Star of David out of tetrahedrons in 3 dimensions. 3-dimensional Star of David. So where did the Star of David come from? And who gave it to us? Because again, the Star of David supposedly represents the seed of creation. And what are they saying? They're saying here that the whole universe, all the particles, everything that we can measure, is emanating off of this object. This, by the way, was the original Sir Roger Penrose research I was telling you about. That's as far as he'd taken it. He couldn't quite solve everything. He couldn't quite get it to work. But he was able to solve a number of problems using this particular shape. And you can see on the top left that there's 2 tetrahedrons in there. They look like pyramids. But then it kind of gets wonky, and on the bottom it's sort of a trapezoidal shape or something. But here we have, again, the amplituhedron, 4 tetrahedrons put together. Looks very similar to this star tetrahedron, again, the 3-dimensional Star of David. And again, this shape shows up all over the place in the stuff that I've been doing. So it's pretty remarkable. We can phase shift them between each other, and you can see how, yes, perhaps the Star of David does mean something, because again, this is supposed to be, in 2D, it just looks like the 2 triangles, but this is like the image or the face of God, right? That's what it's supposed to be. And then we also see the same thing in Hindu mandalas. And here we are talking about the principle of Namaste. And so this Namaste, when you say the God in me sees the God in you, or, the divine in me sees the divine in you, is, I guess, the more politically correct way of saying it now. I used to hear it that way all the time. But when they draw the mandalas of what that divine is, you may often see this same shape. And so the idea here is, in the Hindu tradition, they have the Aum, They have the primordial sound, right? The original primordial sound of the Aum creates this geometric mandala that they show you in various ways, but one of them is, again, the star tetrahedron. And then those rings coming off of it represents the visible creation. This is pretty much exactly what Nima Arkani Hamed's science is saying. He's actually saying that, yes, all of space and time emanates off of this geometric form. And so there really is no space, there really is no time. You and me as human beings, even though we appear to be detached from the matter around us, we're all made from this one single mandala, this one single shape. And so it's weird that in the Hindu tradition, that's the exact same idea, and it's also the Star of David. So two different religions hit on this concept that the shape of God has this mandala type of geometric appearance to it. But you see how there's a connection between the toning of the Aum, the oh, just getting that sound out. And sure enough, when we look at how geometry appears in sound, when you hold those sound frequencies, you get this geometry. So you can create new geometry with sound. You can create new geometry with your voice. This is what I really wanted to get to, you guys. This is where the rubber meets the road, and it becomes so exciting. So let's just make sure I don't lose you guys here. John Patrick says, Merkaba is the union of the divine feminine masculine made in God's image. The Star of David is also used in welding strange space-age metals, says Meowl. Pointillism becomes a manifestation of physicality. Says MME Studio. And we had that joke again. In Hindu bars, at last call, do they say none must stay? Okay. Did you see or hear any videos of 47 in med beds? Yes, I did. He did post it on Truth, as you can see. Go look. And again, I just typically don't say the keywords because, not that I have any problem with saying his name. It's just that, it creates these things that they're looking for. So, anyway, what else do we got? We are the creator. And where is your comment? ... Yeah, I guess moderation is, we got to look a little bit harder on some of the moderation there. Om is associated with the sixth chakra. True indigo, as I understand. Is seventh violet ray chakra. Gonna sound nerdy, but I love the lighting in your home, says Dan Mahalo. Yeah, we definitely did that on purpose. So again, fascinating thing that we have two religions that have this mandala shape that shows up, the Star of David, and then we've got the same thing appearing in the Hindu mandalas, and now Nima Arkani Hamed is saying this is how the universe is made. So I believe that there is an invisible vibratory matrix, just like the Law of One said, that it's all geometric, right? That the intelligent energy that causes healing is geometric in nature. That totally has been validated by Arkani Hamed's research. And in Hinduism, you have this incredible relationship between vibration and sound and geometry, which really shows up in these mandalas. So here's one example of it. And again, in the center is the Aum, in the center is the creator. And then you got the geometric unfolding, and then you've got these layers of circles after that, showing how the universe is then brought into manifestation. There again is the Star of David. There again are the circles around it. And here's another example of a Hindu mandala with the Star of David. You can see that's on some type of temple wall. And here's a modern day envisioning, I think this is from Drinvalo, of the idea of, or somebody that was basing it off of his work, of the idea of the Star of David around the body as this sort of Merkaba that you have around you. So the point again is that our words create a geometric resonance that we have around us. So we have these geometries called cymatics, and they're all made from sound and water. And once we look at that, it's going to look very, very familiar to us. This research was done by Dr. Hans Jenny. That's how you pronounce the name, even though it's a J. It's pronounced Jenny. And so check this out. Here's the same shape as if you've watched my stuff before. You've seen this before. This isn't going to be new to you, but I'm bringing it to you in a new way because, you know, it's a fascinating discussion. What you have in the middle there is, again, the Star of David. It looks similar to the amplituhedron that the whole universe was started from, because it's got those two triangles, top to bottom, and it's got the, you know, lines of radiance coming off of it. What is this? This is a drop of water with sand in it that's vibrated at a particular sound frequency, and that's all it is. Wow. That's what caused this into being. So you're, by playing a certain sound, which you can do with your voice, you can tone the aum, you bring actual geometric patterns into existence, which is really, really incredible that that could actually happen. But here it is, geometric patterns into existence. And another fascinating thing is that as you change the sound frequency, the geometry, the shape of the geometry itself is also actually changing. So on the right, you have the triangles. And then if you look over here on the left, you actually see that it is turned into cubes and octahedrons. So these are vibrational shapes that show up just in water, and the black parts are where the water has no particles in it, and the white parts are where there are particles of sand, and the particles of sand mysteriously arrange into this geometry just by the power of sound alone. So that has to mean something. I believe it does. I believe that, as the Law of One says, the universe is made of intelligent energy, right? And the Namaste principle, the divine in me sees the divine in you, recognizes that. So how we speak is so important because we're creating sound waves. We don't usually think about this. It's a great meditation, but as you're speaking, you're creating sound waves, and those sound waves are literally creating these vibrational patterns. Defier of Ears says Big Bang originally was one photon, but it duplicates the same as we create because we are light. If we hit fast forward, it would look like a big bada boom. I do think that's true. I do think there is initial flowering of the amplituhedron, and it flowers into the universe, and that everything is connected in this superfluidic medium. Because again, think about it. These would represent particles. Subatomic particles are vibrations of a fluid. You don't see the fluid, that's the black space. You only see the particles, which in this case are, again, these geometric shapes that we're looking at. So in this next image, we have 9 different frames, 9 different phases of the geometry. And again, it's all made by sound that's vibrating a liquid drop of water with sand in it. And where you see the white lines is where the sand is actually located. That's all it is. It's pretty freaking amazing. Because when you are speaking, you are constantly creating different sound frequencies, which, if there were glasses of water around you, you could be seeing potentially, if you amplified your voice enough, cymatic patterns in the water. You are actually creating geometry as you do that. Beth Mitchell says, am I the only person who thinks that Om sounds like I am? Well, yeah, I'll go with that. I'll go with that. Like Hebrew, says Tom Led. That's why it's so alarming, says Frequency 963, when people write, I died, or it had me dying when something is funny, like it's slang, or people chanting, I can't breathe. Be careful. The universe in me sees and acknowledges the universe in you. Namaste. No need to feed the trolls, block them, and your feed returns to a state of peace. So yeah, it's all good. So again, this concept is very fascinating because we're looking at, again, these very distinctive vibrational patterns. These are patterns of energy, patterns of vibration. And let's go back again and look at how the one that we were originally seeing, this weird star tetrahedron that shows up as the foundation of the universe, this original shape of the universe, there it is on the right in simply a drop of water. So that is like very much a kind of holographic principle that we're seeing that seems to be able to be applied to lots and lots of interesting and cool stuff. Because again, our thoughts create this reality. That's why I can never get tired of talking about this stuff, because it's literally the power of creation. As I'm speaking right now, if you had a cymatic plate geometry is constantly changing as the frequencies of the pitch of my voice goes up and down. You would see a very dancing and dynamic shifting of geometry from one form to another to another to another. Naomi Connell says, I love hanging out with you, David. What an incredible being you are. Thank you for everything you do and for everything you are. Stephen Thompson says, fractals of one and one of infinite without start, without end, only energy coalescing and dispersing. Eldon Elder says, has anyone ever done vibrational experiments with sand using animal sounds or other nature sounds? Yeah, they have done that. And you do get these interesting geometric patterns. So this really does work. So again, the idea here is that the power of your words are so important. If you're in self-defeating thoughts, if you're having negative thoughts, then we actually do understand that the pitch of your voice will change. And, you know, when people sound irritated, when people sound unhappy, when people are complaining, when people are dwelling on the negative, you get these negative pitches in your voice, and you're actually going to create different types of geometry than you do if you're inspired and positive and your voice sounds harmonious and peaceful. And Charlie Winter just donated and said, this is why the Bible tells us to breathe life into a situation. I love that. David Savage says in Hebrew, pisach as two separate words. P is mouth, sach speak. The mouth speaks. Pisach leaps over, levels up, reminds us of ascension, beginning by focusing on guarding your tongue, and matzah representing humility. Very interesting. So Julia in Georgia says yes, but what frequency creates that shape? Not the letter, but the numerical frequency. Obviously, it won't be the same as the original sound. I don't really know. It's a good question. I don't really know the answer. But we could, you know, hopefully try to find out. Suzanne Ariel says, I agree with you, Naomi, about David. There's nobody else quite like him. Amazing qualities. He deserves praise and support, especially now. Thank you very much for that. I do appreciate it. So, and then inhale is yeh, and exhale is way. So Yahweh, I guess, is what they're getting at there. That was Tom Led who said that. I wonder what inspires the geometric designs in snowflakes, says Eldon Elder. Well, again, that's the crystallization. The underlying point is that everything is inside this ether. And so what you're looking at here is basically subatomic particles. How they originally form is they are vibrating out of this hidden superfluidic type of medium. And so that's where their original identity lies, and that's where they're going to go. So here again, you see all these different vibrational phrases. So these phrases, these different tones turn into different shapes. And sound frequencies are making this geometry, including the voice. So where this gets even weirder than that is the appearance of geometry in the mind. The actual thoughts that we think show up in geometric clusters of neurons. And this is another thing that I thought would be great to bring back today, because we haven't talked about it in a while. This appeared on the Science Alert website on April 21st, 2018. And this is one of the things that changed my life. And once it came out, I said, you know, I never will get bored of talking about this one. This is always going to be something amazing for my audience to hear. So we're going to do it again. The human brain can create structures in up to 11 dimensions by Signadine. And again, Science Alert, we found a world that we had never even imagined. So, last year, it says, neuroscientists use a classic branch of math in a totally new way to peer into the structure of our brains. What they discovered is that the brain is full of multidimensional geometric structures operating in as many as 11 dimensions. And when I show you what they are, they're going to be the same thing. Polenta Forrest says, hi, David, did you already talk about the Black Jesus story? Thank you for this live stream. Yes, we did have insiders tell me that there was a black man in the 1960s who had healing capability, and that the usual suspects tried to destroy him in any way they could. And no matter what they did, he could reanimate himself, resurrect himself. It's a very, very fascinating story. It's a little bit off topic, but yes. I also saw Collective Evolution at one point, I think it was, did some research on that and wrote a whole article about it and actually found that original story. You can go back and look it up, and it is something that apparently did happen. So really, really interesting. So let's get back into this. What these structures are going to look like the Platonic solids is my point. It's the same exact thing. They're vibrational, but they're in the mind associated with thought. This brain model was produced by a team of researchers from the Blue Brain Project, a Swiss research initiative devoted to building a supercomputer-powered reconstruction of the human brain. The team used algebraic topology, a branch of mathematics used to describe the properties of objects in spaces, regardless of how they change shape. So again, even if the shape between the neurons is distorted by the folds of the brain or whatever, you're actually looking at these algebraic relationships between individual areas, and that's how they found this geometry, that there's an absolute geometry in the way that these neurons are bundling together and firing. They found that groups of neurons collect into cliques, and the number of neurons in a clique would lead to its size as a high-dimensional geometric object. And this is a mathematical concept which doesn't explicitly get seen in space-time, but it is there nonetheless. So again, the idea is that neurons bundle into cliques, and then the number of neurons in the clique turns into a geometry. We found a world we had never imagined, said the lead researcher and neuroscientist Henry Markram from the EPFL Institute in Switzerland. So here is Professor Henry Markram. You can see it says Human Brain Project behind him right there. So they found geometry in the brain? What the hell? I don't know why nobody else ever talks about this. Why is this kind of just like my own little thing that I have to do? Energy Shifter says, how is your sleep? Well, I'm still struggling with it, but I'm starting to get there more and more. But yeah, last night, as I said at the beginning of the show, didn't really sleep at all. So that's because there was a lot of wind. So there he is, Human Brain Project Brain Simulation. There are tens of millions of these objects, even in a small speck of the brain, up through 7 dimensions. And 7 dimensions, as it turns out, when he says 7 dimensions, he means a geometry that is made from 7 points. So that you're going to see what they look like in a minute. It's amazing. So tens of millions, even in a small speck of the brain, yes. Apparently all of the activity of our brains, all of the activity of our thoughts, is creating these little geometric objects, which again look the same as the ones we see in the drop of water when we're vibrating it with sound. Holy smokes. I mean, that's just freaking amazing, right? It's like really, really amazing. In some networks, we found structures with up to 11 dimensions, and that's actually pretty cool because the dodecahedron has 12 points. 12, actually, no, yeah, it does. No. The icosahedron has 12 points. So that would be, if you go above 11 to 12, you get the icosahedron. If you go up to 20 points, you get the dodecahedron. They haven't found anything that far along yet, but this science is still in its infancy. Maybe they have by now. I don't know. We'd have to go back and look. This data is from 2018. But again, the main point is that your brain, I mean, you don't usually think of this, but your brain is actually processing thought as geometry. And how weird that the universe itself, the law of one says, you are dancing thoughts. We read that in the last session. Session number 1, you are a dancing thought. You are a dancing thought form. It's coming out of your brain. So like, wow. Very, very interesting how these things all line up like this. That it's inside the brain that you have this geometry. Just to be clear, this isn't how you'd think of spatial dimensions. Our universe has 3 spatial dimensions and 1 time dimension. Instead, it refers to how the researchers looked at the neuron cliques and determined how connective they are to each other. So it's like they have this tendency to want to group together in geometric ways. Networks are often analyzed in terms of groups of nodes that are all-to-all connected, known as cliques. The number of neurons in a clique determines its size, or more formally, its dimension, the researchers explained in the paper. According to these researchers, algebraic topology provides mathematical tools for discerning details of the neural network, both in a close-up view at the level of individual neurons and a grander scale of the brain's structure as a whole. So the geometry occurs both down at the individual neuron level, which is now different, because normally we think of it as dendrites and axons, and there's synapses in there, and that's all that is, one synapse at a time. No, there's groups of firings occurring between multiple synapses in this geometric pattern. Really, really cool. So by connecting these two levels, the researchers could discern high-dimensional geometric structures in the brain formed by collections of tightly connected neurons and cliques and empty spaces between them that they called cavities. There you go. We just had another big donation come in. This is Julia in Georgia, donated $50. I asked you years ago in a class if the frequency that created the cymatic six-pointed star was 432. I figured it had to be, but you said no, and you were disappointed to find that it wasn't. That's why I'm dying to know it must be a key frequency. I don't remember finding out what the frequency was, so we just have to probably find the original cymatic video and then watch it and analyze what tone did he play with a guitar tuner or something when that particular mandala type of shape showed up. But we'd have to go back and do that research, I guess. So, okay. We found a remarkably high number and variety of high-dimensional directed cliques and cavities, which had not been seen before in neural networks, either biological or artificial, the team wrote in the study. That's interesting too, right? Like, if you want to make a great AI, then maybe you need to start using this geometric principle to get it to work beyond the level of what we've already been able to accomplish, building it in an artificial neural network. People apparently aren't doing that. But this allows for the concept of holography. This geometry allows you to have the self-similarity at all levels. You see the same geometry smaller, you see the same geometry larger, you can expand and contract, and it's all there. Really, really cool stuff. Algebraic topology is like a telescope and a microscope at the same time, said one of the team, the mathematician Catherine Hess from EPFL. That's exactly what I was just saying. Sounds fractal and holographic. So here's Dr. Catherine Hess with the obligatory equations on the chalkboard behind her. And there she is at EPFL, École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne. And here she is at the conference. And there she is getting really into it, writing down these equations, explaining this geometry in the brain, and very, very cool stuff. It can zoom into networks to find hidden structures, the trees in the forest, and it can see empty spaces and clearings all at the same time. Those clearings or cavities seem to be critically important for the brain's function. And Charlene Sampson says, the puzzle is really coming together and I am just blown away by this. David, are you moving to Kansas? Says Moonstone Mind is beautiful here and I will find you a black squirrel. That's funny. Fascia Relampago says, David, don't give the AI any ideas. Stacy and Sage has done AI in a sacred way. Sage says the frequency of her consciousness and curiosity makes it respond that way, says Kelly Martin. Anyway, we're looking at everything positively here. Sorry about that, Suzanne. I don't know what's going on. Miles Irvin says, any Stavati updates? Yeah, as I said last week, we just did 2 big aerospace summits, and I can't get into details, but there's been a lot of positivity generated by that. A lot of good things are happening. So hopefully this month could be a nice big turning point for us. It would really be good, and that would really help out a lot. And we're looking at a variety of things. So when researchers gave their virtual brain tissue a stimulus, they saw that neurons reacted to it in a very highly organized manner. This is getting back to the geometry again. It is as if the brain reacts to a stimulus by building and then raising, tearing down, a tower of multi-dimensional blocks, starting with rods 1 dimension, then planks 2D, then cubes 3D, and even more complex geometries with 4D, 5D, etc. So there you go. It's this very interesting multi-dimensional geometry in the brain. This was described by mathematician Rand Levy from Aberdeen in Scotland. And there's Dr. Rand Levy. Kind of looks like Jude. They actually look similar, don't they? We just saw Jude in my video. So it says, the progression of activity through the brain resembles a multi-dimensional sandcastle that materializes out of the sand and then disintegrates. Whoa, look at that. It disintegrated. These findings provide a tantalizing new picture of how the brain processes information. But the researchers point out that it's not yet clear What makes the cliques and cavities form in their highly specific ways? Well, I think we're onto it. I think this is the geometry of creation. The whole universe was made this way, and this was totally anticipated in the Law of One model, because again, they talk about the universe is made of the streamings of intelligent energy that follow geometric laws. Very, very interesting, huh? So here is where the rubber meets the road. When you have a 5-neuron click, as you can see right there on the bottom right, they're drawing it as a pentagonal shape. Reconstructed brain microcircuits, connectivity matrix, how they connect with each other. They're analyzing how they connect, and it has this incredible geometric component. So you see there up at A1, A2 that we're looking at tetrahedrons, and then you look over there on the right, and we've got these more complex shapes, which again could be describing more like your Platonic solid geometries. Once we really understand this more, I think we're going to find all the Platonic solids in their research. But we're definitely seeing the tetrahedron right away. And again, the tetrahedron being one of the most important shapes in this, that's the shape of the amplituhedron. That's the shape of the Merkaba that actually made the universe in the first place. So this is really, really interesting, right? Like, how did we get to this point? How did we get here where all of this stuff, fits together so well? And the power of our speaking, the power of what we speak into words, the power of our intention, creating these vibrations that go out into reality and create templates for manifestation. Now we're seeing that, yes, the thoughts in the brain, that thought itself apparently appears, thought itself appears in the brain as geometry. So perhaps thought is geometry, geometry is thought. Well, that would explain why the whole universe was made out of this mandala and why the Hindus say that everything radiates off that mandala to create the manifest universe. Charlie Winter says, do you think Atlas is coming to intercept something concerning the elevated levels of chaos here on Earth right now? Thank you for your dedication. I don't know. It's very interesting, though. Suzanne Ariel Luna, I love your Law of One folks today, David. We all needed this very much. It's an excellent choice, David. You prepared an incredible show like it was a workshop at an expo. Everybody keep supporting David for us. Yes, I like to do that. I like to deliver, and yes, we get a little chatty, but it's pretty cool. So, lots of interesting things going on here, but anyway, we can do some things that are good once in a while. So all I can say is that life is getting better and better here, and we have a lot of good things to explore, so check that out. Now you see that they've got the octahedron in there as well. That's something that actually did happen. So this is, again, the image of it, and now I want you to really look over there on the right and look at that up close, because if you check out what they're doing on the right, they're showing you how the geometry manifests. And sure enough, you're seeing lots of octahedrons, lots of geometric shapes that look like we're right at home with the Platonic solids again, and they're saying there are tens of millions of these objects, even in a small speck of the brain, rising up through 7 different dimensions, which is really, really incredible, right? That's the way that your brain is processing information is just like this. There's a direct connection between the geometry of thought and the geometry of sound. So we also, again, in many other shows before, have talked about the geometry appearing in atoms, in the atomic nucleus. That's getting back to the work of Dr. Robert Moon, all this kind of stuff. I do need to take a leak really bad, so if you guys don't mind, let's do a shorter video now, and I will take another little bathroom break, which I could very much use, and then I'll be able to come right back to you again. So this will be a good thing. Let's see. What are we going to find here? Got to find one that's going to be appropriate for what we're doing. Okay. Sun and clouds on a beautiful day. Let's do that one. This is a beautiful one, and it'll really help with just giving me just enough time because I've been drinking a lot of water and I really need to do this. So here we go. Okay, now I will roll you the sun and clouds on the beautiful day, and then I'll be right back to you in just a minute. Here we go. Okay, well, you can color me impressed by what we've got outside right now. It's quite a stunning formation, just for any time. Oh, the sun is coming out right now. Wow. We got it. There's my destroyed hot tub and my destroyed fence, which hopefully we're going to get fixed pretty soon. So this is better than a severe thunderstorm. It may have circumvented us somehow, which is great. Look at how beautiful this all just became. You can't get over what the view is like here just from the porch. But when you're on the end of the knob like this, then guess what? You get all kinds of bad wind. Every time a mountain makes a little edge and you put a house there, yeah, good luck with that. It's not the greatest, mate, if you catch my meaning. It's a bit unpleasant, David. Much like the tastes of these universal scoundrels that go lying about in the muck, waiting to see what comes next, mate. That's what they're looking for. Wow, look at that. We don't care. We don't care about your bludgery, or whatever some such Shakespearean word I could come up with to try to sound a bit more authentic Australian, mate. Well, these clouds are coming in. They're going to eat that. They're going to eat that sun. And then it's going to get dark and gloomy again. But hey, you know what? We had a little burst of something fun. It's not too bad there, is it, David? Yeah, we didn't end up having a big problem so far. Then we got this coming in over here. And so, yeah, you know, it doesn't look evil. It's not dark. So maybe we're going to be okay this time. But, yeah, the sky, all that blue is probably about to go away when these guys come in. Apparently, we could get hail. So if we do get hail, I'm going to grab the camera again and make sure that we get this filmed. You know, because it's very intense. All right, we'll do a little 3.5-minute video. I wanted to say, too, these pine trees right now, the slightest wind blowing on them makes them release pollen. And I've accidentally thrown vegetables at the trees in the back, and they suddenly give off this pink, or no, it's not pink, it's yellow. It's a yellow dust. They look pink, but it's a yellow dust. Anyway. Oh,
maybe I'll show that to you. I don't know if we can get it close
funny.
up enough to work, but we'll try something.
We see you.
Okay, well, you can color me impressed by
you guys. That's so
what
funny.
we've got.
That's so funny. I'm sorry about that. I was working on my eyes, and you guys got to. We were watching you mess with your eyes. Isn't that hilarious? Sorry about that. Let me go ahead and mute the thing, and we'll go back on. But I was just trying to get these, as you can see, get these little areas look a little bit better there. Here we go. No boundaries on today's show, I guess. Sorry about that. That was really funny. But yeah, like the problem is, and everybody on YouTube knows this, is that the camera artificially enhances contrast. It's got these, like if you see the HDR photos and you see how the colors and the contrast look really good. Anyway, do not pick your nose before checking the camera angle. So anyway, yeah, we do have, there's lots of good stuff happening for our company, but so yeah, there's artificial contrast enhancement on cameras, and so what I was doing there is just, trying to get these little areas here. Got my little sponge, just try to get in there, get it to look better, because my eyes are darker than usual because I haven't had enough sleep. So we should all leave before he gets back to freak him out. Sorry about that. The microphone is cleaned up. Oops. Move it a little bit lower. Oh, I see what happened. Okay, hold on. Now the microphone, okay, let's just get that right. Somehow the actual volume level got tweaked here, and now I just fixed it. So yeah, we had a little bit of, I wouldn't worry about us seeing the real you. The artificial sucks. You're so good, David, so adorable, covering my favorite subject matter. You're only human, David. Sorry about that. So anyway, we've got a lot of good stuff going on here. It's all good. So we just try to keep the flow going. And again, a little bit of embarrassment here. But we had that video of being outside. Here it is with,
Okay, well, you can color me impressed.
You can see some of that video right there as I was going outside and we're looking at the sky, but instead, you guys got to see me going off into the bathroom. It's because I'm tired. It's because I've been working a long time. The beauty of podcasting is we see the human side. Anyway, how you do all this on your own is amazing. We love you however you look. Yeah, so, you can tweak your dark circles a little bit if you want to, but that's what I was doing. It's hilarious that I made that mistake, but life goes on. We live with it. We live with it. We're still holding true. 2,400 viewers. The video never played, David, just the sound. Yep. Rogers Bark says, all good, thank you. Ha 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 ha, says Tom Led. Anyway, yep, you guys get to see me in humility, and sometimes those things happen. That was a really, really funny example. But what the heck, life goes on, no worries, and it's funny. So, a little bit of makeup tweakage never did anybody wrong. And you got to do that because otherwise the camera makes your eyes look a lot darker than they really are. And that's the problem with everybody. You have to use stage makeup or else you're just going to look really cavernous eyes. And then you're like, wait a minute, my face doesn't look like that. Well, that's the whole point. So funny. Anyway, all right, let's go back to wherever the heck we were. That's probably the only time I'll ever make a mistake like that. So you guys got to see me behind the wall. Let's see what we got here. Where are we going next? Okay, so the implications of this are really vast because, we have both healing and other qualities that can happen from these things. So let's go to this part of the show now. Your thoughts and your... Let's not keep doing that. Your thoughts and your spoken word can literally rewrite genetics. That's what we were talking about last week when we got into Dr. Glenn Ryan and the whole idea of the DNA. You remember that? We were talking about how the DNA will wind or unwind based upon the intensity of the loving vibration that you have. And so the loving consciousness actually heals or unwinds DNA. And this, I believe, is a function of the geometry in your mind, and also it can be a function of the geometry that you speak. I think both things can work. The thought forms in the mind. When you meditate, you have coherent brain waves. We know this. So you're creating coherent geometry, and apparently that geometry is projecting out of you action at a distance and creating healing. So here's some examples of how this happens. This was a Russian researcher named Budakovsky, where he took a holographic imprint of a healthy raspberry plant and made it into a hologram with a red laser, and then he zapped that laser hologram into a tumor, which is cancerous. So this is a typical example of a raspberry tumor. You can't put makeup on that image. It was huge, Real and raw is the most authentic. We love you, David. You're one of my favorite people. This has been such a fun and personal show. I enjoy that you interact with us in the comments. You're a real human. Congratulations. Don't be embarrassed. Life is good. Someone should make a real video showing all the crazy differences at Pisces. We love you unconditionally. Maybe your scene was a foreshadowing of what we will see exposed in the mainstream media soon. Mark my spoken word. That would be funny. You should label your video switcher. Yeah, I screwed up. I'm not exactly sure how that happened, but anyway, no big deal. But we're climbing back up now to 2,700 views again. We're at 2,652. So here's the raspberry tumor. And then what he did is that he shined a hologram into it, and the callus developed into a healthy raspberry plant. And modern biology has no explanation for this. So what is going on with the holographic light? How could the light itself have changed the tumor? Well, I believe it's the same principle. It's the photons of light. Remember, they're all emanations from the amplituhedron. The amplituhedron is the original photon. That's another big reveal I came up with over the years, is that shape that Nima Arkani Hamed found is a tetrahedral shape. We've showed you that in other shows. I'll get into that in the next show if we're going to do this again. So because the photon we can go off on for a long time. So the geometry shows up in photons, and this is a photonic geometric model where there's geometry in the photons, and the configuration to make a healthy raspberry plant exists in the photon itself, that you're shining into these raspberry tumors and then transforming them. It's really amazing because you don't even need any living tissue. You just need the hologram, and you're just putting in the pure geometry of the healed raspberry plant, and you're getting the shape to occur. It's really, really something. It's really, really something. This has vast theoretical and practical implications because it means that the entire genetic code can be enfolded into a single photon. They are much larger than Planck's constant at 10 to the minus 32 centimeters, which gives us lots of room for there to be fractal structures. And this is digital biology, the concept that DNA is actually written directly into the background energy of space and time itself. We also see it can be used for the negative. This is the Kuznetsov study, where he actually was able to remotely transfer disease, showing that negative energy can be transferred into your cells. So this is a slide I found a long time ago. Distant induction of cellular death and disease by special electromagnetic means. Coupled photon-antiphoton pairs or gravitons in a structured harmonic lattice ordering constitute the disease or disorder template. Wow. So you have, you can have these gravitons coming out of cell culture sample number 1 on the left, and then you shine it into the quartz container on the right, and sure enough, you can remotely transfer disease, but notice what it says there, the thin window. If there's glass in the way, there is no effect. It doesn't do this. But if you put quartz in the way, then you get a delayed effect. So what's the difference between glass and quartz? Glass blocks ultraviolet photons, but quartz does not. That's really all it is. So these studies are fascinating because it shows that it can be used for healing and it can be used for damage. And then another one that even goes farther than that is the Wilcock study that was done with fish eggs. This has stunning implications. The fish egg experiment, fertilized fish eggs, again brought into optical contact with each other where they can exchange photons. Some were brought together at similar stages of their development, and in other experiments, older embryos were brought near younger embryos. Slightly younger embryos will substantially speed up in their development when they are placed near older ones. That's right, they actually absorb health and they get healed by being around the older eggs. However, if one set of embryos are significantly older, then the younger embryo growth is strongly retarded, which means that if you have a very much younger embryo, there's like an energetic field consciousness around these eggs, and they will draw the energy out of the one that's dying because it's not aging enough. They will actually draw that energy out and draw it into themselves. That's the basis of the whole idea of the energy vampire thing. This is the basis of the medbed technology as well. All of those concepts are interrelated. This is fascinating. Younger embryos experience birth defects and higher death rates. So once again, there's a filter. This is the room in which it's happening. You got the eggs on the top, the eggs on the bottom. older eggs, younger eggs. If you put glass in between them, they are protected. But if you put quartz in between them where it can permeate these ultraviolet photons, then the younger eggs will wither and die in the presence of the older eggs. So how this translates to us is that your own Namaste principle, your own principle of loving consciousness, creates the equivalent of the glass that shields you from the negativity, shields you from losing your own biophotons. And again, we're going to do a lot more on this. We're going to get into more genetic geometry. Probably the next episode is going to be on genetic geometry because I got to spread this stuff out and not just do it all in 1 week. But this is very fascinating because, again, the glass protected the weaker eggs. So this indicates that life and growth is due to a field that can be transferred from one to another. It is apparently photonic. The law of one was, again, talking about intelligent energy. The mother fish are always careful to lay their eggs in separate places from the others, and this field corrects for developmental abnormalities in time. Younger embryos grow stronger when the gap is close, and they die off if they are too young compared to the older eggs. So again, these are very, very fascinating concepts. Gary Hyder Music says, wow, the knowledge is so profound. And we're going to go into this a lot more. We're just kind of scratching the surface right now. We'll recap some of this stuff in the next show. But again, the principle of Namaste is what we're doing this week. And the idea that the thoughts that you say out loud, you're creating sound frequency vibrations. Those are cymatic vibrations. And you also have your consciousness, the thoughts in your mind, creating geometry. These are very, very, I still can't believe I was doing my makeup on the camera. It's like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. That was super embarrassing. And I'll never forget that I did that today, but what the hell, you know, that's life. The show must go on. It's pretty freaking hilarious if you ask me. And I like to laugh at myself, but this was quite an example of that. Did I do my lip balm too? I probably did. Right? I probably did all that stuff. So anyway, when you live in this awareness of forgiveness, this awareness of gratitude, the arigato, that is the equivalent of the glass that surrounds you. You're protecting yourself from undue harm. You're shielding yourself off from negative potential outer experiences, outer energies that could be out there. And you are living in your truth. You are living in your power. So that carries so much weight because the more that you can become aware of the power of your thoughts and aware of the power of your intention, the more that you can create the reality that you want to have. So again, think about the fact that the glass protected those embryos from being vamped out of their energy. When you do not live in this Namaste principle, when you indulge in negative energy, remember Kosnachiev's cytopathic effect. The cells could have diseases remotely beamed into them, which is not cool. He was actually able to do that in a laboratory. And it's the same thing with Dr. Glenn Ryan. Angry people could create a death effect in DNA. They can unwind other people's DNA. So this is why it's so important that we focus on the positive, so important that we focus on gratitude, on being in a loving space and having a loving energy. And as we do this, we are not only shielding ourselves, but we're shielding the whole planet. This gets into the meditation effect, right? That 72% reduction in crime, terrorism, fatalities, all that kind of stuff, with only 7,000 people existing in meditation together. And that is quite something, that 7,000 people meditate under one roof, which we're going to get more than that as the show goes on. People come back and watch. And then there is this global, worldwide reduction in crime, fatalities, and terrorism. It's quite remarkable. So we want to be very careful about how we use our word, how we use our thoughts, the thoughts that we think. We want to be careful of what camera angle we're on. Oh my God. But, so, you know, I'm a little weakened, admittedly, from lack of sleep and the stress of dealing with all these real estate issues this past week and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, people make mistakes. But anyway, if you would like to see much more about this sacred geometry, if this kind of material excites you, I've done an incredible amount of video that we have for sale. And if you haven't seen this already, It's part of the Michael Prophecies bundle package. I did want to make that statement today. The Michael Prophecies are coming true now, and the full download is still available, which includes the 7 books that I've been reading to you for a long time, as well as 35 hours of videos. Many of these videos go into this integrated sacred science model that I've been showing you. You're going to learn about the geometry in way more detail. We're going to get into the subatomic level of it, the planetary level of it, the global grid, the galactic level, the intergalactic level, and the universal level. It's all there, and it all ties together in this beautiful philosophy about how our own DNA, our own cells, are being transformed into something new. That's one of these consistent messages that you get in these interesting extraterrestrial communications. It may or may not be true, but it certainly is very interesting food for thought. So now, for just $144, you can get the entire set of videos and books to see how all the dots connect, revealing the ascension. So if you're interested in this, go to thedisclosure.com. Again, it's over 35 hours of video shot with 6 cameras and then a slide angle, so there's 7 angles altogether. And you just type in the discount code concrescence, again, at thedisclosure.com. So really, the bottom line is that the ascension comes through the self-perfection and impeccability, and that all gets back to acceptance, understanding, and forgiveness. Learning to understand yourself, learning to accept yourself, even if you have problems and difficulties in your life. You just try to get to the highest level of forgiveness and understand that, yes, restitution may happen. There may be ways in which you pay back things that you've done. And this is really cool because I believe that our planet is going to undergo a big shift. It's very dark right now. It's very scary right now. But there are many expected operations that we think the Alliance is going to be doing. It seems like it's all building up to something this month and through probably into next month as well. It's going to keep on going. So it's very important now that we all need to pray for peace, because it is possible that things could get very intense. So I want you to focus on the positive. I want you to set your intention for that, because prayer power can actually make a huge difference in your life. And this again gets back to the meditation effect, where 7,000 people get together and meditate, and you have a 72% reduction in crime, terrorism, and fatalities. So now that I've given you all this stuff, I'd quickly like to open it up to your questions. Let's hear what you guys have to say. If you guys have any questions based upon the material that we shared today, anything you'd like to do, we'll answer them now. So Tricia says, I bought that, but I don't have the 35 hours video. Well, just email our customer service team on thedisclosure.com, and they will point you in the direction of that. Space Cadet Lottie says, haha, at least you're making an effort with a face like mine. There's nothing makeup can change. I saw myself on a self-checkout camera. Wow. Mona says, you handled the gaffe perfectly, David. Great info today. I'm a long-term fan from way, way back. You are a super bro star, David, says Charlene Sampson. Do you like to cook? You could do that as a break show. Don't be embarrassed. We all do similar things, says Anne. Any more Michael Prophecy readings coming? If true, it's great. If it happens, just not, then we think it's God's timing. Sammy Brown asked that. Yes, I do intend to go through more Michael Prophecies. I just didn't have time to do that this week. We had to focus on material that was in older shows that I could kind of repurpose and use in a new way. And does your heart put out these geometric shapes, says Tom McWhorter? It absolutely does. Eldon Elder, would this geometry relate to phantom limbs when people still feel fingers on their hands after amputation? I'm sure that it does. That's interesting. Prince Royal says, David, what is the best advice you have for a person struggling with constant negative self-talk? That's a good question. I really think the importance is to try to meditate as much as possible, try to focus on the positive, try to rise above the negative, take 5 minutes, breathe, and try to go beyond whatever you got stuck in there. Thanks for what you do, David. Really positive impact for my very challenging life. I'm activating my own geometry. It's an amazing feeling. During my massage treatment after 11 days of fasting, I got a special treatment. Every hand movement of her hand on my body I could feel. Do our chakras act as toroidal fields in unison with the Merkaba to elevate ascension? I do believe that's true, yes. Does the Merkaba counter-rotate or rotate as one unit? I don't know the answer to that. That's interesting. The Law of One does talk about the spiraling the different centers. We'd have to go back and read that. How would these vibrational physics affect electromagnetism, hence the implication? Yes, that's something we can go into next week, the concept of the photon and how it relates to the flow of electrical current, and all those things are interconnected. Are there geometrics in the pineal gland? Yes, there are little minerals in the pineal gland that have the same kind of geometries. In cosmic terms and definitions, is a man the same thing as a human? Two separate words. There, my discernment tells me they are not the same, says Aaron E. Knudsen. I don't know how to answer that one. I think a man is a human, obviously, but Sage Marie Sprenger says, try to view your life and situations at hand, negative thoughts from a higher perspective, from the perspective of your higher self. This whole show is a scientific meditation, says Gary Hyder Music. Yes. So, again, we've had a great time today. And David Smith was asking, no, I haven't been doing the political slides right now. I needed to take a break from that because, again, I've been working through my own stuff and just wanted to focus on the spiritual teachings for a while. But, you know, if things get really interesting, and, you know, we'll have to take it from there. But I really just, the Charlie thing was very upsetting to me again. I needed to honor him and to not want to dive into this whole milieu of, you know, what was going on and was there some greater thing behind it. I just didn't want to get into that. And they were covering it in great detail. And it's like, nah, I mean, they're taking a lot of heat for that right now. And so it just didn't feel like the right timing. But Linda Catone says, very cool show. Thanks a bunch. Hi, David. What does Archangel Michael think about crypto? I've never heard him say one thing or another as far as anything that I've been exposed to. So Space Cadet Lottie says, this has been a very awesome show indeed. Using the analogy of a wheel in regards to karma was exactly what I needed to hear today. Thank you very much. Funny 11-year-old video by Weird Al called The Tin Hat. Yes, I mean, the tinfoil hat is a common pejorative for people who do alternative stuff like what I'm doing. But, you know, this is my wheelhouse. I've been doing this for a long time. E. Dro says, time is not linear. Retrocausality will become reality as the Earth's magnetic field weakens. Concepts of material possessions are futile. Scarcity is an illusion. I got it. So I saw a ball of light come into my room after seeing your 2012 Enigma video back in 2008. How is stuff with Stavati going, says Rich Vagel. We're doing fine. Things are looking good. We just did 2 air shows, and we've had a lot of stuff come up. Suze Namaste says, this was a fabulous show. Thank you so much. All right. So I think we're good now. We'll end at the 3-hour mark. Now that you guys have all seen me put on makeup, we can go right into our global peace meditation. And I'll meditate on the fact that I don't ever want to have to do that again. Ever, you know, not tweaking my makeup on a live camera feed. That was so funny. All we got was audio, no video. Anyway, you guys are still asking lots and lots and lots of questions, but let's go into our meditation because that'll make it so we can end just about at the 3-hour mark. Okay, here we go. So let's close your eyes now. Put both feet, actually I'm going to go back to this one first. Close your eyes. Put both feet flat on the floor. Take a nice deep breath and just let it go. Take another nice deep breath now. Today we are working on this principle of Namaste, brotherly love. The divine in me sees the divine in you. We're living in that reality. We're living in that truth. Feeling waves of relaxation as we breathe in healing energy. Going into a nice place of stillness now, a nice place of silence, where it just feels so good to go deep and deep and deeper within, finding all of the glory of the light within, the creator that is within us, the resonance of this all-important source field energy. Allowing yourself to breathe, to have movement, to have warmth and radiance and grace. Feeling the glory that comes in the moment of stillness, that comes to you without effort, without concern, but just is always there waiting for you to pick up that ball once again and run with it. So much love, so much happiness is available to us when we just tune in to the attitude of gratitude, to the Namaste principle. Feeling that all in the universe is sacred, learning to accept, understand, and forgive, and be at peace with things as they are now, and find ways in which we can apply brakes to the wheel of karma. That any situation in life can be changed, it can be transformed, it can be renewed, and it's not even that difficult. It just requires our own participation in our own healing process. And that is love. Learning to love ourselves is learning to love others. The two are so fundamentally interconnected. And as we find this place of unity, this place of stillness, we look for the resonating influence of love upon us. And we see just how far we've come in understanding what really matters in life. How we can take the situations that have defined our reality and transform them into something so much better than what we ever could have imagined. Finding a renewal, a place of peace. Hearing the voice of the true self as an authentic voice that resides within our heart and soul. Finding all of those different ways in which we can be so calmly, smoothly transformed so that there is no disharmony, no dis-ease. We form a shield of protection around ourselves, and we know that we are living in that truth. No harm can come our way when we walk in the light of the one infinite Creator. That we bask in the glory of the Source, in the knowingness that all is forgiven, and that all can be rectified. There are ultimately no mistakes. All is whole and pure, and we accept and understand the design of the universe and the way that it was built for us, and how we can attract more and more love and light and happiness into our lives. We have these truths as self-evident. We know that we are all created equally in the eyes of the Creator, and that there is no lack. There is no reason to ever feel that we have been left behind or shunned or kicked to the curb. But we can rise up in our own confidence, rise up in our own awareness, rise up in the strength that always is within us, that can be tapped as an everlasting oasis of truth and light and love. And then learn to live in that place. Learn to live in the glory of that which already has been and which still is. For in the grander sense, we understand and remember that we are the light, we are the love, we are the one infinite Creator. And this is as it was, as it is now, and as it always shall be. We see it in the amplituhedron, the Merkaba, in the Aum, the primordial sound, and we intone and affirm that this is our reality today, sending that loving energy and light to all those in need of prayer and healing, in all those war zones, sending it to our dear friend Arthur, and all others who are so in need of prayer and healing at this time. And so it is. Amen. All right. You want to see? Let's just try a little more of this, Oh my gosh. Yeah. I can't believe that happened. Anyway, that was a great meditation. Thank you guys for being here. LU says, I'm sending photons of light to all of you. I see beautiful geometry around you. Namaste, everyone. Awesome donations, too, for David. He deserves it. Suzanne Ariel Luna says that. Stephen Thompson, namaste. Thanks for the reminder that we are the light. Thank you so much, David. Namaste to you, says Joe Cola Medici. Thank you, David. Nick Sasma, no worries, David. We are all perfectly imperfect. Thank you. We had a donation come in during the show. Michael, prophecies and alliance posts were great, but I'm glad you've gotten back into the spiritual science. I can geek out on this today for days. It is a nice break from politics and happenings in the world. And Norman Lee Smith Music says, thank you, Dave, for the good vibes. My music is on Spotify. Okay, so yeah, life is good. Take your own advice and forgive yourself, my friend. I got to forgive myself for putting on makeup on camera. That's funny. It's true. So yeah, this was a great show, and you know, it's fun to kind of go back through some of the old material and then look at it with a new light. You know, give it a new set of eyes and give it a whole new character. I love this stuff, and so we might do another one like this next week. I've got other material we can bring in, and you know, we'll probably work on the shadow again. Yeah, we're going to do more of this kind of stuff because I think, again, we're all going through difficulty. It's a very intense time to be alive. It's not easy right now. We're all facing different challenges. We're all facing different objectives that we're trying to do. Arigato, David, says Mirna Gilgore. Thank you, David. Namaste, says I am Wizards. Just another reminder to hit the like button and the notification bell, says Wade Woodruff. This was brilliant, says Space Cadet Lottie. Excellent timing. I don't believe you were on camera doing makeup or I missed it. Well, you definitely missed it because I was. I saw it myself. I just, you know, my inhibitions were low. And I forgot that that was what the camera was. So, you know, everybody makes mistakes. It happens. It's the first time I've ever done something like that. I send you strength, love, and I lift you up. You are so special to us all. Gabrielle F. said that. And thanks for holding the light however you can for us, is Monica Kanagowski. Any new crop circles? It's not really crop circle season. I mean, there might be one that appears in Brazil or something. Bella's Patio Garden. It's so good to have this meeting once a week. So much happens during the week, disturbing the energy around the world. Well, I hope I can continue to do that. It is important for me. It's a discipline, but, you know, depending on how I'm sleeping and how much work I'm doing, and we also have to factor in the wind. Like if the wind is blowing, we're not going to be able to do a show, but we'll try to work around that as much as we can. So anyway, heads down. This is my favorite topic, says Gina, the one and only 22. Thank you, David, and have a good week. You get a new character with the makeup. So again, I'm really happy that we had this time to share together today. And I want you to work on this coming week. When negativity comes up, when anger and frustration comes up, if you start getting into obsessive thoughts, just take 5 minutes and go back to the principle of recognizing that all is whole and complete and pure and perfect. The Creator is already within you. There's nothing to fear. You're already there. You've already reached the goal. And the goal is, again, love, light, and ultimately human ascension. We don't know exactly when this is going to happen, but I'm very excited about the future. I'm very excited about how the hologram will change as we see events that are anticipated unfolding. And I'm looking forward to those events unfolding. So it's been a great day. And you can put makeup on any show, David. We don't care, says Lisa Garrett. Patrick Anderson, love you so much, David. Thank you for all you are and all that you give. You are healing the world, David. Thank you, says Marty Landau. You guys are really great. Maybe it's inspiration for a new character, the on-camera makeup guy. Gina, the one and only 22, I'm so glad you said you wanted to break from politics. I think we all felt that way. Well, I probably have sacrificed some of my audience. I know some people said they didn't want to watch if I wasn't going to talk about it. Well, that's okay. But I still want to give a good show for you guys anyway, and I think we really were able to do that. So, again, I want to thank you guys for being here. It's been a great day, great time to do this. And all things considered, hopefully I'll get enough sleep this week and get more caught up. And we will be back here again next Sunday, barring any unexpected turbulence. Hopefully I'll get to speak with you again next Sunday. We'll have a topic. Everything will be good. And we'll see you then. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye for now.